Hello guys, this is Naruto-kun and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Got Married to Sakura Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Just then a member of ABNU appeared and said, "Kakashi, have you been able to select which one?" Kakashi nodded. Then the other two are to report to the Hokage Tower at 4 this afternoon. Then the ABNU disappeared. Well Sasuke, let's go and get started training, follow me. Good luck Naruto and Sakura, hope everything works out. Kakashi said as him and Sasuke left. Naruto hid a smirk, then turned to Sakura and said, "Well, that stinks, but at least we may not have to go back to the academy. Want to go get something to eat? My treat anywhere you want. I got some stuff I need to pick up. If you don't mind, I can pick them up on the way if you want to. Then after we eat we could go on to the Hokage Tower to find out what's up. But, if you got other plans we can always just meet up at the tower." "Your choice," Naruto said. "What do you need to pick up?" Sakura asked. "I got some new clothes that I had delivered to a friend's weapon shop to get some custom work done, plus my weapons I need to check on." Naruto said but thought, "Plus I want to give you some time to get used to me if things are going to change." "Sure, why not, but why don't we just get some ramen, because I know that is all you really eat anyways." After Naruto and Sakura left Naruto's favorite ramen shop Ichiraku, they arrived at the weapon shop where Tenten lived. "Hello Agi and Naruto, I got your standard order finished, but Dad said he needed you to test something about those two special orders you made. If you will follow me I show you to where he is and you can come also, miss," Tenten said smiling. "My name is Haruno Sakura, and I would like that." As they were going through the shop Tenten stopped and said, "Naruto, why don't you try some of those on and make sure the seals are right before we get to Dad? Don't want to lose a special customer cause of a small mistake." Naruto agreed and went into the dressing room and changed into his black outfit and activated the gravity seals on everything. After he was sure everything worked he turned them off and left the changing area still in his new outfit. Naruto said, "The seals worked great Tenten, it might take a couple of days to get used to it, so I won't be able to use I while doing these tests, so I already cancelled the effect. That reminds me, let me see your forehead protector Tenten." Tenten nodded and handed her forehead protector over. He took his off as well. "Sakura, let me see yours also, you're going to love this." Sakura was curious, so she agreed and handed it over to Naruto. He quickly wrote out a seal and laid all three forehead protectors on, and then he bit his thumb and touched the seal with his blood. It glowed white for a moment and then stopped. Naruto handed everyone their forehead protector and then said, "If you ever have anyone who just love to scream like Lee, Guy, and Ino, then all you have to do is touch your forehead protector with your thumb and it will activate, and no matter how loud someone scream it will sound just like we're talking right now." "Okay, where is your dad Tenten?" Tenten looked at Naruto and said, "If this seal works like you just said I am going to find you and kiss you." Naruto laughed with a little and Sakura got an evil look on her face. No more hearing Ino scream all the time. If Naruto is telling the truth I might just kiss him also. Huh? Where did that come from? Okay, Dad is just over there, so I'll see you two later. I got to go take care of the shop, Tenten said. Naruto started to walk to Dustin when he raised a three-pronged kunai in his hand and showed it to Naruto from across the room. Then he threw it at a train log. When it hit, a yellow flash appeared where Naruto was. That scared Sakura, and then she noticed Naruto was standing by the strange kunai pulling it out of the training log. He then examined it and had a smile on his face. Then he said, "Exact detail, perfectly balanced, and the seal worked better than the original. I am indeed impressed." Then the man said, "Thank you Naruto, now that I know how they need to be done I can have your order done by next Monday, but I need you to look at the sword. I am done except adding the detail design, but I was hoping you could try it because I don't know if what it did is the way those seals work for sure." "Sure, let me see it and I will be able to tell real quick if it works right," Naruto said as Dustin brought a sword case over and laid it next to where Naruto was. Naruto opened the case and grabbed the sword, and instantly it changed shape a little and the weight change also. Sakura, I need you to help me with the last two seals test, and if the work right. Sakura walked over to Naruto and he handed her the sword that transformed Aegean perfect for her. Okay, let me explain what I need you to do. First seal I want to test is the bloodline seal, which means that swords should never be able to cut me no matter what, and the second test after we try the first test is to take the sword to the far side of the room and see if I can call it to me. Okay, first test Sakura, try as hard as you can to cut off my arm. Don't worry, it won't cut me. Sakura raised the sword above her head and brought it down as hard as she could with her eyes closed. When she opened them, Naruto still had his arm out and the sword was resting on Naruto's skin, never even a scratch. After seeing that seal worked, and Sakura took it as far as she said could, and then the sword was back in Naruto's hand and a smile on his face. After Naruto paid, they left for the Hokage office. On the way to the tower, Sakura asked, "Hey Naruto, I got a couple of questions for you. Why did Tenten say that you are a special customer, and how do you know so much about seals? I thought you were dead last, and what's with that weird flash technique you used? I never seen anything like it before." When Sakura finished, Naruto stopped for a moment and looked at the ground sadly for a moment, then he put on his fake smile mask and said, "I will tell you everything you want to know, but let's get to the Hokage office first." Okay. At that point he started walking Aegean and Sakura followed him slowly, but her thoughts ran a lot faster than that. Why did he look sad for a moment? What is he hiding? And how did he get back smiling Aegean so fast if he was sad? After they got to the Hokage tower and entered the office of the Hokage, Naruto walked in and took a seat by the window, and Sakura took a seat right in front of the Hokage's desk. The only other people in the room was the Hokage and Ibiki. "Hello Hokage, what can we do for you today?" said Sakura. The Hokage glanced at Naruto and he shook his head a little so the Hokage would know to go on. Ibiki did a couple of seals and activated a silence jutsu. Then the Hokage started talking. "Sakura, I have asked you to come here today so that you can know the truth. What I am going to tell you is the biggest secret in the entire world. Once I start telling you this information, you will have to stay here until the very end. I will allow questions because this concerns you in a way greatly. I know you might get scared or upset with some of this, but you must stay to listen to it all. Then you will be given two choices. Do you understand the importance of this information?" Sakura sat there for a moment and shook her head yes slowly. After seeing this, the Hokage smiled and began, "I might as well start with the past and go forward from there, Sakura. First off, you and every child in this village has been lied to about some information on what happened 12 years ago when the Kyuubi attack. Even most of the adults don't know the whole truth because we did not have all the information that we have now. Naruto, please bring me the summon contract and let Sakura read it and bring out our other friend." Sakura turned to Naruto, who was doing some hand seals, and said, "Kyubi cage human bunchen." After the smoke cleared, a man with red hair and red eyes dressed in black stood there and he held out the scroll the Hokage asked for. Sakura was a little nervous. After the Hokage got the scroll, he handed it to Sakura. "Sakura, this is the summon scroll for foxes. Please read over it very carefully and read the last two names of who signed it." After Sakura read it over a couple of times, she looked at it and asked, "What does this mean? I don't understand. If Kyuubi is dead, then why is this important?" Naruto interrupted at this time and said, "Sakura, we were told Kyuubi was killed by the Yondaime, but that's not the truth. Yondaime knew that he could not kill something that was immortal, so he made a deal with the death god. He sacrificed his life to seal the Kyuubi into a newborn baby to make it mortal. But what most of this village does not know is that the baby he sealed it into was his own child. But the real kicker of it is Kyuubi actually did humans a favor in a weird, sick, twisted way. But thankfully, with the information you have in your hand there, we know who truly was responsible for the attack. An S-class criminal named Orochimaru. He wanted Kyuubi to destroy every village so he could be the ruler of the world, but Kyuubi refused, so Orochimaru made him attack us instead since he hated this village the most. Kyuubi had to do as he said or he would have gotten control of all of the summoned creatures under Kyuubi, and that would have been worse. After giving her a few moments to review that information, she asked, "Who was the child and how do you know this stuff?" "Naruto, I mean you are the dead last of our class." Naruto smiled at that and looked at her and said, "Remember asking me what that flash technique I used at the weapon shop this afternoon? Do you remember what Yondaime nickname was?" Sure, he was also known as the Yellow Flash because of some Youa the child, his son. Naruto looks at her and said, "I knew I always loved how smart you were." The Hokage decided it was time to continue at that point. "Sakura, that is only a small part of the secret that we need to tell you. The rest of it you will have to listen to and believe it no matter how crazy it sounds because it's true. I will let our other guest fill you in on the rest for now." Sakura is basically in a shock state at the moment, and Kyuubi starts by looking at Naruto and then Sakura. "Hey Kit, I think in all the years we known her this is the first time she was completely at a loss of words." With that, Sakura came out of her mental collapse and starts yelling, "Oh yeah, and who are you to talk about me like you know me? I have never met you before, you stupid idiot." Kyuubi laughs a little and then starts. "Actually Sakura, the kid and me came back from a little over 5 years in the future to try to change some disaster. Believe me, after all the happy and sad times we had to go through together, you may be surprised about some things. It's true Sakura. From when we came from, all of our friend and most of our family has been killed during all the trouble. Kyuubi there gave me a chance to come back and change the orthogonal timeline. We have already started, but I am needing your help. Because of the friendship you and me developed over time, Kyuubi made a deal with you that I did not know of until recently. On a mission about 2 weeks before the destruction of Konoha, I was attacked by a very deadly mental genjutsu and you entered my mind with your medic skill. Being the apprentice of Godaime Hokage Tsunade, the legendary medic nin, you were able to save me life. But what I did not know at the time that you were pregnant and wanted to make sure if something happened to you, your child would have a chance to know you. When you entered my mind you met Kyuubi. At which time I helped you heal the mental damage, and why we worked on it we came to an agreement. I made a copy of all your knowledge and memories so I could give them to your child when it got older. Naruto's memories are only 3 months older than those before we had to come back." Naruto interrupted, "Sakura, I am not asking you to have what feelings we had at that time, instead I am asking you to accept the memories so that you can help me save all of our friends and loved ones. If you accept Jiraiya and Tsunade who are on their way here would help train us even more. The change I mentioned earlier that has already taken place is so Sasuke stands a chance of not being killed for being so power hungry. That was the reason our team had to be split up for now. I know how you care for him and are probably mad at me for interfering in your life, but one life versus millions, it is something that had to be done. Hokage, can we give her about an hour her by herself to think about everything she heard before we ask her for a decision? I don't want to force her into this. Sakura, if you do not decide to get your future memories, I only ask for 2 things then. First, you cannot tell anyone anything you heard today, and the second I don't want to do but it may help save everyone. Let me be allowed to have your memory and knowledge that you gave Kyuubi, so maybe with that extra information we might change thing for the better. For what it is worth. I am sorry." And with that everyone left the office, but Ibiki came over to her before he left and said, "I am leaving the silence seal up the whole time we are gone so you can talk to yourself or scream, and if you want to punch something the Hokage has a target dummy in the corner by the window." Sakura sat perfectly still in her chair thinking, well, I was wrong, this day did get worse and it is all thanks to the baka. I feel like I am just some type of chess piece right now. What should I do? I mean, yeah, I would like to know what is going to happen, but I do kind of like the idea of being a medic nin. I think I will do it, but the baka it going to have to give in also, so it's decided I will wait until he answers my request before I answer. Well, Sakura, have you made any decision yet or do you need more time? Asked the Hokage. I have made a decision, but I am going to wait to tell you. First, I need to bargain with the Baka first. Would you be willing to give me your memories also with mine, Naruto? Sakura asked, and Naruto looked at her sad for a few minutes and asked her, if I did give you all my memories, it will be very painful for you. I have not always lived a happy life. Some of my life would give you nightmares for the rest of your life. Could you live on with such awful memories? Would you live on or would you kill yourself? I would be willing to share everything with you, good and bad, but you should know there is no way to take them back. I wish I could pick and choose which ones you got, but it won't work that way. Naruto said sadly. Sakura thought it over for a little while and asked, alright, I agree to share my memories with you also. So how do we do this? Well, let's go to the hospital and we can do it there because you will be asleep about 3 days from the shock of all the information. Kyuubi said. Everyone went to the hospital after the Hokage sent word to Sakura mom that she would not be able to come home for a couple of days due to a mission. Once the Hokage had got a room set up, WTH 2 bed, and had one in each bed. Okay, here is what we need to do. You each need to have an IV connecting you together. I will do all the seals and your blood will mix to help transfer the memories, so you will have to hold hands and lay still. After I finish, I will tell the Hokage and he can have someone heal your hands, and Ibiki will guard you both until you both wake up, Kyuubi said. Naruto and Sakura did what he said and he started seals. After 200 seals, they both screamed in pain and passed out. Kyuubi nodded to the Hokage and they disappeared in a puff of smoke. 1 day later. Kit, wake up. Kyuubi woke up inside the sewer that holds Kyuubi in the cage. After standing up, he looks at the fox and asked, what do you want? How long was I out? The last thing I remember is we were getting ready to do the memory switch. Now I find myself waking up here. Kyuubi looks at him and says, it has only been 1 day so far, but the reason I woke you up is because you are fixing to have company and she will wake up on her own. I did not want to frighten her when she sees me, so I thought you could meet her. If you go to the entrance to your mindscape, you will find her there. Naruto turns around and heads to where Kyuubi told him to go. After a few minutes, he finds Sakura passed out on the ground, but she is restless, so you can tell she is about to get up. Sakura, get up. Come on. Naruto taps Sakura on the shoulder, trying to get her up. When Naruto finally notices she is awake, he helps her up, but something strange happens. There are 2 Sakuras. Sakura, this might be a dumb question, but why are there 2 of you? Naruto asks. That is because Baka, I am her inner personality, Mwahaha. Inner Sakura says, note from now on inner Sakura will be referred to as IP3. The other Sakura looks around for a second and says, okay, I admit I do have a second voice in my head and I can understand why there are 2 of me, but why are you here, Naruto, and where is here? Naruto just looks at them both, shakes his head and says, well, this is my mindscape where I can talk to Kyuubi. It has only been 1 day so far and Kyuubi told me I was going to have a visitor, so he told me to come meet you, so I guess you both might as well. IP3 is chewing on some popcorn, don't know where she got it, but if you watch the show she can pop things out of anywhere as she follow them and starts saying, are we there yet? 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 Until Naruto finally has enough and screams, give me the death god over this, can you ever shut up? Sakura, how do you put up with her? Which was the wrong thing to say because IP3 now has a hockey mask and a chainsaw crank and is saying, come here Baka, I think you need a haircut, Mwahaha. While she is stalking Naruto through the sewer, Sakura just shakes her head and tells Naruto, at least she's in a good mood today. You should see her when she gets moody. At this point Naruto face pales and gets on his knees and begs for forgiveness. After getting IP3 to calm down, they make it to the Cubus cage and Sakura is a little scared until Naruto walks over and puts his arm around her and tells her he won't hurt her. Meanwhile Ip3 walks up to the cage and says, "Hey furball, want to have some fun? I always want a fur coat and a couple of new pairs of shoes. I think those claws would make some good ones, wahahaha," she says while pulling put a tomahawk and a skinning knife while looking at QB with a look of lust in her eyes that shows a person is totally psycho. QB backs up a little after looking at her and says, "Hey kid, if some part of her stays after this is over, do us both a favor and summon the death god to take us both. I am just glad this cage is here. I may be the most feared of all the demons, but she scares even me." Eeeepp. As Ip3 tried to get into the cage while sharpening her blades. About an hour later, after Ip3 threatened to give QB a sex change and Sakura finally got over her fear of QB enough to get Ip3 to settle and somehow pull out 3 recliners, Naruto leans over to Sakura and asks, "Do you know where she gets all this stuff? I mean, she has to store it somewhere, right?" Sakura looks at him and shrugs her shoulders, showing she doesn't know. At this point, QB with a mohawk on his head thanks to Ip3 is sitting with his tails between his paws and says, "Okay, I know we don't have much to do until the 3 days are up, so I thought I would show the 2. I am and the 3 of you a few memory of what originally happened the first time around. Even though you will have both of your each memory, I will show you what I seen. But I will let you, Sakura, to pick what you want to know first." Sakura thought it over a few moments and then decided she might as well try to find out what happened to Sasuke, since she was in love with him so much. "Show me everything that happened to my Sasuke." QB looks at Naruto first and sees the hurt on his face that does not go unnoticed by Ip3, but QB shakes his head okay, and after a flash of red light everyone starts seeing every memory QB had about Sasuke. First he started with when they were in the academy. Then he showed how the team's selection, then he showed the training, Sasuke insults, then he showed the mission to Wave. At this point Sakura is still dream-eyed, but Ip3 is starting to look at things a little different. Next QB showed the mission to Tea and Snow countries. Then they got to the Chunin exam, Lee beating Sasuke. Kabuto at the first exam, at which point Naruto lets a little growl come out. Then they showed the Forest of Death and the Curse Mark. Then the preliminaries, Gaara and then Shukaka, at which point Ip3 starts glancing at Naruto, Itachi, the fight on the roof, the promise of a lifetime, then Sasuke defection and the Valley of the Ends fight including Naruto almost dying. Sakura is starting to cry a little at this point but keeps watching. Ip3 is getting pissed off. Next they show another fight with Naruto and Sasuke. Then showed Orochimaru in Sasuke body and him trying to kill them and eventually the death of the body. After that Sakura is in tears. Naruto gets up to try to comfort her and Sakura yells for him to leave her alone. After that she starts venting her anger at Naruto. QB asks her, "What do you want to see?" No. Sakura, still angry at Naruto, want to hurt him for making her feel so bad for what he showed her and for messing with her life, decides to use this chance to make him feel bad. QB, I want to see every bad thing that happened to Naruto. I want to make him suffer like he just made me suffer. Ip3 steps up and says, "Are you sure that's?" She never got to finish because Sakura cuts her off. QB looks over at Naruto Aegean and says, "Sorry kid, But Sakura cuts him off and demands for him to start. Sighing he starts. First he show Naruto in his dad's arm looking at his mom body where she died from childbirth. Then showed QB being sealed, then an assassination attempt. Then the abuse from the orphanage, then living on his own at 4. The beatings, the glares, the abuse, the destruction of his belonging. More assassination attempts, starving, digging through garbage. A sense where Sakura is crying about 5 years old and Naruto goes over to help her and gives her a chance to impress the other kids by being mean to him instead of being mean to her. At this point Sakura is starting to feel a little bad. She remembered that a little bit, but Ip3 is furious at Sakura and the village. Naruto just looks on with an emotionalist face, showing that he's seen worse. Next showed more abuse, the way parents made kids stay away from him. Then after more hatred it showed Naruto in the academy. Showed the teacher's abuse, tricking him with genjutsu so the classes would laugh at him, ingorning him, more assassination attempts, Mizuki, team selections where Sakura said she hated Naruto, then Naruto henge like Sasuke and Sakura telling him why she hated Naruto, the team picking on him, more hate, Demon Brothers, Zabuza, Haku, Sasuke near death, Sakura telling him no, the loneliness, the exams, Sasuke, Akatsuki, Kyuubi please stop I don't want to show anymore right now please. Naruto asked beggingly. Sorry kid I wish I could but unfortunately I am honor bound to finish, for what it is worth I am sorry, Kyuubi said. Naruto looks defeatedly at Sakura and Ip3. He then gets up and walks out of the cage room slow. Ip3 walks over to where Sakura is and they both keep watching with sadness in the eyes and hearts. The next scene they saw was Naruto being forced to leave to train, his battles, death of friends, his near-death, destruction of Konoha, the death of all the men, the final battle and the death of everyone and then Sakura's sacrifice, finally the glares and hate that he received since he came back. After everything was showed Sakura was unable to cry anymore and looked defeated because she did not know what to do. Ip3 on the other hand was busy burning all her Sasuke fan club poster and shirts and started working on designs for Naruto fan club. She also made shadow clones to set up target stumps for her and making them look like all of her future enemies with a look of bloodlust in her eyes. Sakura walks over to Kyuubi cage and asks, was his life really that bad or was all of this some sick joke? Kyuubi growls at her and says, look, what you saw was nothing compared to what he went through and he would almost never admit but if you truly want to help go look for him. If you want to really know if it was that bad on him look around you know. You see this area how it is like a sewer, his experience in life changes the scenery and as you can see this place is not some nice meadow or a 5-star resort. Don't worry you can't get lost everything here leads back to either the entrance where you woke up or here. Go look for him and try to talk to him. You might be surprised. Sakura listened to Kyuubi talk about Naruto with respect and started thinking, I did not know he had it that bad. I feel sorry for him. I was being a jerk earlier. It's true, the only thing I think about is Sasuke and I see where that got me. I don't know what I should do. Maybe I should listen to the fox and go talk to him. I agree with that, and don't think I can hear your thoughts just because I am not inside your head, I am still a part of you, Ip3 said. Sakura looks over at her other self and is mad at first but calms down after seeing her point, so she heads out to try and talk to Naruto. Meanwhile in the hospital room, how do you think it's going Hokage sir? Kakashi asks. The third says, I am not for sure but, before he is interrupted by a knock at the door. Ibiki walks over to the door to check to see who it is. The third sent for a letter for me to come and I was told he was here. Jiraiya says as he is led into the room. After seeing who it is the third goes over and starts saying, It's good to see you got my letter. I know this is unusual but there has been something that has happened and I need your help. As I know you already know who the boy is and what his legacy is over there, pointing to Naruto in the bed and seeing him shake his head yes, well, believe it or not we got a second chance thanks to the Kyuubi. Jiraiya looks at him like he is crazy and starts to say something but the third interrupted him and continued, see that boy's body is only 12 but he is actually older than that, see Kyuubi and him use a time travel jutsu to come back to try and change the past. He has told us about a war coming who are actually spies here, Orochimaru killing me, you teaching him Rasengan, summoning, bringing Tsunade back to be the fifth, how she treats him as a little brother, Akatsuki, the other sealed demons, the destruction of Konoha, and also he has shown us the reason for Cuba's attack, and based on that info, we were lucky. Okay, I can understand everything you say but the attack by Kyuubi. How can you say we were lucky? Jiraiya asks. Simple read this scroll for summoning foxes he gave me before they began and look at the last two names, the third said as he handed the scroll to Jiraiya. After a few minutes of reading over the scroll and figuring out what happened he asked, what do you mean they began and who is she what's going on? The third smiled at that and says, if you also want to know what's going on Tsunade, you might as well come in that window. How long did you know I was out there? Tsunade asked as her and Shizune come in the window. Ever since you arrived before Jiraiya. Now let me go ahead and answer your question, Jiraiya. See, her name is Sakura Haruno, and believe it or not, she was his fiancée from his future. Because she had to go into his mind and help Kyuubi save his life once a few weeks before he came back, she let Kyuubi keep a record of all her memories, knowledge and experience, so in case something happened to her, he could give that knowledge to the child she was carrying at the time. Right now, she agreed to get her future memories to help us fight, but she also wanted his memories so that I am worried about. The reason I wanted both of you here is in the near future after I died you both took one of them as an apprentice. The third member of their team betrayed Konoha and joined Orochimaru to be trained so he could kill his brother Itachi. We are working on changing that already. Instead of be trained by Kakashi here, we have him training Sasuke one-on-one to make him think he is special and make it harder for Orochimaru to get his hands on his body. He finally figured a way to switch bodies and it is very dangerous for us, the third said. Back in the mindscape, Sakura was walking around the sewer in thought, trying to figure out what she is going to say to him. While walking, she hears someone crying and starts to follow the sound. When she finds Naruto, he is sitting with his head between his knees crying softly. She feels bad and says, "Naruto, look, but she is cut off as he jumped to his feet and turns his back away from her. Then after a moment of silence he says, "Don't worry about it, Sakura, the past is the past and we are ninja, ninjas don't have emotions. We are weapons, being a ninja is not a job, it is what we are. I am sorry to cause you so much pain, if I could do it on my own I would. The last thing I ever wanted to do was hurt you, goodbye," as he starts walking off. Sakura is at a loss for words, she is thinking, what do? I don't know anymore. I thought I loved Sasuke and I never really paid attention to Naruto. This is so hard, maybe I should go back to the fox and talk, he know Naruto better than I do. With that she starts to head back to the cage room. When she got back she got a surprise, Ip3 was treating the human version of Kyuubi to a candlelight dinner. That's it. I cannot take it anymore. Where the hell are you getting all of this stuff and why are you having a candlelight dinner with the fox? Sakura asked. Ip3 responded by saying, well, you can't have all the fun with Gias, besides he's sweet if you get to know him. Besides, if you would have asked to see Naruto favorite moments you might find out you like him. Now where were we? Kyuubi just looked at Ip3, gave her a wink and asked, do you think she would want to see what I showed you? Ip3 smiled an evil grin, pulled out a bucket of popcorn, handed it to Sakura and Sayed. Watch the show. Me and Q are going to walk around. Enjoy. And with that Ip3 put her arm around Cubus and they took of walking while a video started playing overhead. The next day in Mindscape, Sakura had been looking for Naruto for a few hours now and was trying to come to terms with her feelings. The only thing she has decided on is that they were going to talk and maybe give him a chance at a date to try it out. She starts noticing the area she is walking into has changed from the usual sewer to that of a small forest. After walking in the forest a little while she comes up on a small meadow beside a sees a large stone off to one side of the meadow and decides to sit on it to rest a little while. When she got on top of the stone and was looking around she notices someone floating on top of the lake. She stayed there and watched him for a little while trying to sort through her feeling. Suddenly the lake disappeared and the woods returned to sewer as Naruto woke up. Sakura, I know you're there. You might as well come out of hiding, I can smell the cherry blossom from your perfume. Naruto said as he sat up and laid against the wall. Sakura walked over and sat down beside him and said, that was a very lovely scenery. Is it a real place or just something you imagined? Naruto looks at her for a moment and said, it was a real place. I was just dreaming about something. So what brought you here, I mean beside the memory transfer? Sakura looks at him and says, I don't know, I felt bad about, you know. Naruto starts looking at the ground. I see. Don't worry about it. There is no reason to worry about it. You know, I probably should have just tried this by myself and not gotten you involved. I am sorry, I did not mean to hurt you. Naruto said as he stood up and started to walk away. Naruto, stop. Sakura yelled as she got to her feet and walked over to him. Listen, I don't want you to walk away from me right now. I could use some company. This is a lot to take in at one time and I just don't know what to do or. Anyway, I was wondering, can you do that Aegean with the scenery change Aegean? Sakura said. After Naruto changed the scenery back to the way it was earlier, he walked over to the edge of the water and after a bright flash his clothes changed into nothing but a pair of swimming trunks, then he walked into the water and started to swim. Sakura saw him do this and walked to the edge of the water and yelled, "Show off. I don't have a swimsuit so I can't swim," and then she crossed her arms and started tapping her left foot. Naruto saw this, a laugh a second, then said, "While we are in a mindscape like this, anything you have a memory of you can change your clothes and or appearance to show it. That is how I change the environment and my clothes. I tell you what, I will turn around and let you give it a try and I won't turn around until you say I can, okay?" At this point Naruto turned around in the water away from Sakura and she walked behind a tree and tried it. To her surprise it worked and now she was wearing the two-piece swimsuit she always wore at the hot springs. After seeing everything was cover and nothing to revealing, she went and slowly got into the water to swim. After she was neck deep she told Naruto he could look now. They swam for what seemed like hours, not saying a word until they both got out of the water and sat on the shore. After a little bit they changed back to their original clothes and Naruto asked, "Are you hungry?" Seeing Sakura shake her head yes, he closed his eyes and after a few seconds two Caesar salads with ranch dressing appeared in Naruto's hand. He handed one to Sakura and said, "Enjoy. I know it's one of your favorites because you like to look your best." Naruto changed the scenery to the top of the Hokage monument at sunset and they sat on the fourth's head sitting quietly. After they finished eating Naruto started feeling tired. Aegean, so he asked, "Are you tired? I could change the area Aegean so that you have your own bed to sleep." Sakura looked at him confused but shook her head okay. After another flash of light the area changed Aegean to that of a two-bedroom log cabin. "I trained here for 2 months during my 3-year training away from Konoha. If you want to freshen up before laying down there is a nice bathroom fully stocked. I am going to change and go to sleep. Aegean, I am sorry for having to hurt you by doing this. You should probably wake up in your own body tomorrow with the memories, but you might have one heck of a headache," Naruto said sadly. Sakura had just finished showering and changing into some sleep clothes when she heard Naruto crying. She slowly went to his room and looked inside. She saw 2 Narutos. One was in a bed crying in his sleep while the other was beat badly with a hole in his chest. Sasuke was standing over him gloating, saying something about he would do anything for power so he can kill his brother even if he had to give his body away to some bloodthirsty madman. Then there was another flash and Naruto was standing at the gates of Konoha and an older Sakura is telling Naruto how she told Sasuke she loved him and he still left and Naruto made a promise of a lifetime to bring him back for her. Then it flashed to Naruto in the hospital talking to some tall woman telling her he had to get out of the hospital so he could keep his promise to Sakura. Then it flashed to some 30 villagers attacking him saying it was his fault as a demon that Sasuke left. Then once more the scenery changed and Sasuke is holding Sakura hostage and Naruto called him Oric something and said he would sacrifice himself as long as she did not get hurt. Then Sasuke charged a black lightning attack in one hand and a sword came out of his mouth and flew toward Naruto stabbing him in the stomach. Then Sasuke hit Sakura in the back of the head and charged Naruto. A white-haired man jumped in front of Naruto and took the strike. Naruto had a red glow come around him and attack Sasuke. They fought for what seemed like hours and then Naruto was able to kill him by grabbing the sword that hit him in the stomach earlier and cut Sasuke's head off. Then he did a massive fire and wind attack and destroyed the body. Then there was another flash and Naruto was back at the place where they swam earlier, but this time Naruto was pushing the stone Sakura had first set on over a grave for the white-haired man. Next he carved a name that said Jiraiya, friend, teacher, father figure, leader and super ultra pervert, may all the beautiful woman in heaven be at the hot spring you visit. After that he walk over and picked up a sleeping Sakura and carry her off. Then it flashed to a hospital room and a sleeping Sakura laying in bed and the tall woman from earlier is crying on the floor next to Naruto. With that Naruto stops crying and turns over in bed and the room is back to the way it was. Sakura closes the door and goes to her room and tries to sleep, eventually she falls asleep. She woke up a little later hearing Naruto calling her name, so she runs to his room and sees he at a fetal position on his bed crying. She can't take him suffering anymore, so she runs over to his bed and holds him. He calms down after a few minutes and stutters, Sakura, what are you doing here? He says with a confused look on his face. She sees how sad he is and her heart is breaking. She leans in and whispers, it's okay, I am here for you. Don't worry, you won't be alone, Aegean, I promise. I love you, Naruto-kun. With that she leans into a romantic embrace and kisses him. While they are kissing, a bright flash appears consuming both of them. Back in the real world, Sakura bolts up straight out of bed with 2 IV in her arm, one coming from a bag of Medicaine and one connecting to Naruto's arm. The only other person in the room is Naruto and he is still asleep. Then a massive headache hits her, but after a minute it disappears and she sees flashes of all the memories from them both. Then they disappear and she finds the only way she remembers anything is if she tries to specify a certain memory other than that she is completely normal. She then looks at the IV in her arm coming in with Medicaine and she realizes what to do instinctively. She removes it and a little blood comes out of the site, but she puts her other hand over it and starts using a medical jutsu to heal it. She realizes that she learned that from her past experience. She then takes the one connected to Naruto out and it heals almost instantly before she has a chance to do anything. That surprises her. Then she get a funny feeling that she needs to ask Naruto a question. She looks over at Naruto and it looks like he is having another nightmare, so she gets out of bed and removes both of the IV from his arm and they both heal almost instantly. Ip3 yells inside Sakura's head, you like him no huh? Might as well continue that kiss from before you woke up, hehehehehe. Sakura, thinking the same thing, leans in, slowly kisses his lips. After a moment he wakes up and sees Sakura kissing him, so he start returning the kiss. Aawwww, how cute, a woman says while a man giggles while writing on a notebook. Naruto, hearing the voice and the giggle, realizes who both are before breaking the kiss. Then Naruto says, Ero-sanin, if you put one thing about us in your book I will personally use a Rasengan on everything that makes you a man. And Tsunade Ba-chan, I am glad to see you, Aegean. I still can't believe you let Jiraiya put you in his book. At this point Naruto and Sakura are both counting down to from 5 while Kyuubi and Ip3 both pull out a bag of popcorn. 5, 4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. W Watt, JJJJAAARRRRYYYYYIIIIIAA. The next thing anyone sees is a white blur knocked through a wall with a green blur close behind. Sakura looks at the other woman in the room and says, hello. Shizune, right? The other woman nods yes and sits on the other bed. I guess the memory transfer the third talked about really did work because I know I never met you before, Shizune said. Sakura then remembers that quick healing that happened to her and she asks, Shizune, can you do me a favor? When I took the IV that connected me and Naruto-kun together it healed almost instantly. Can you check me out? I got a funny feeling. Shizune nods and starts to do a scanning jutsu. Kid, bring me out quick, I need to check something, Kyuubi says to Naruto. Naruto does a couple of hand seals and says Kyuubi cage human bunshin, and a puff of smoke appears and the human version of Kyuubi is there. He then looks at everyone in the room and then says, Sakura, do you mind if I also do a scan because I think I might know what happened, but I need to scan you first and then confirm what I find with Shizune. Sakura nods okay and Shizune looks at the new person in the room and asks, who are you? Sakura giggles and Naruto smacks his head. Let me guess, Shizune. The Hokage did not tell you everything, did he? Oh well, Shizune, Kyuubi, Shizune, Naruto says, at which point Shizune faints. Sakura make a Kyuubi cage human bunshin from Naruto knowledge but change it to IP3 instead of Kyuubi so I can come out also. IP3 says to Sakura, which she does, and then an older version of Sakura appeared in the room. At this point the third, Tsunade, Jiraiya with 2 black eyes and a lot of lumps on his head, walk back into the room. Tsunade sees the 4 people in the room and Shizune on the floor out cold and asks, what happened? After everything was explained and Shizune was revived, Tsunade and Kyuubi scan Sakura and then they talk in the corner a few minutes. Then they come back over to the rest and Kyuubi says, well Sakura, after confirming with Tsunade we both agree that you got an added benefit from this. Not only did you get a permanent boost of about 600% in chakra in your body, but you also got the natural healing ability that Naruto has, which, in case either of you are wondering, any children either of you have would also get the healing factor, which means you are stronger and harder to kill. In other words, you are probably equal in power to Naruto with 3 tails right now. At which point Naruto paled and says, "Whot? If she is that strong, then she is probably the strongest person in the village, right? Actually no, you both have a lot of chakra, but no, you both will have to work on endurance and chakra control because you both have to relearn the control for both of you more powerful jutsu." Naruto make a elemental Omega Rasengan in one hand and a normal Omega Rasengan in the other. Sakura make a chakra scalpel and you both should see what I mean. Kyuubi said. Question: Kyuubi, what is a Omega Rasengan and an elemental Rasengan? Jiraiya asked while watching the 2 kids. Simple, Jiraiya, an Omega Rasengan is on that combines his natural chakra with mine. The elemental Omega Rasengan and regular elemental Rasengan are ones that he can either hold in his hand or combine with a weapon to intensify the natural wind attack. In other words, if a normal Rasengan did 30% of damage, a regular elemental Rasengan would do about 200% of the original damage, and an Omega elemental Rasengan would do about 800% of the original damage. Kyuubi said, at which all the adults in the room paled to ghost white. I see what you mean, Kyuubi. My elemental Omega Rasengan is only at stage 3 instead of stage 8, in other words my chakra control is only lower Chunin no. Hey Kyuubi, how much is my gravity seal weights up to no? Naruto asked. About 1,400 pounds overall, no. Why? Kyuubi asked. Dang, I need to get back up to 10,000 pounds as quick as possible. Naruto said. Naruto-kun, I got a question. Will I be able to use all the techniques from your knowledge? Some of them you will be able to, some you will be able to convert over to your natural element, which if I remember right is water. The Rasengan you might be able to do or convert it to an elemental one, but any jutsu that have my chakra added to make it basically work you won't be able to. I figure of the 4,000 just you Naruto knows how to do that you originally did not know how to do, also you probably could do 1,200 with practice, and the 1,000 that he did not know of yours he might be able to do 400 with practice. Kyuubi said. The third leaned over toward the other 3 adults in the room and said, I suddenly feel a lot older. Everyone else just nodded their heads in agreement. After about 2 hours of planning they came up with a plan. They agreed on Tsunade, Jiraiya, Naruto, and Sakura moving into the Uzumaki estates for pretty much full-time training since it was isolated, had every need that they could come up with, and was protected by a concealment jutsu to make it harder to find. Only someone who knows how to get past all 3 seals can get in, so a Sharingan can't even get in if they copy the seals because they have to do 3 seals in their head to get in. If someone does not do those 3 also, then they automatically get sent to the holding cell in Ibiki office, or as anyone who has been there calls it, hell on earth. Sakura mom was already told that she would be coming and going for a while because she would be getting trained by the legendary Tsunade, so she agreed, but on the condition she could receive updates concerning her daughter. Tsunade, Jiraiya, Shizune and the third went to get the things that were needed there while Naruto and Sakura left together to go to the weapon shop owned by Tenten family. On the way, Sakura started noticing all the hateful stares Naruto was receiving. She walks a little closer to him and asks, "How can you stand all the glares, Naruto-kun?" Naruto stops for a second when it dawned on him everything that happened the past couple of days was real. Then he started walking Aegean and said, "I am used to the stares because I cannot do anything about it. I am sorry for all the hateful glares that you have to see. I should warn you that if you really do plan on being with me, they may start hating you also, including your family. I don't want to cause you pain on any occasion. I wish I could change things so if you want to be with me, you would not have to feel the hatred also. You have my memories of how bad they could be to a person. I want you to be happy, so if you decide that a relationship with me is not possible, I will understand. I don't want you to feel you have to be with me for pity's sake or obligation, but want to because it makes you happy. I want to also remind you of the third's law about me, and the only other person in our age group who know anything about this is Tenten. But she does not know the future stuff. I know you have all the knowledge, but if you are having the same trouble I am going through all of the memories I have, then it would be easy to miss something like that. I won't force you to make a decision about us right now. You have all the time you need. I may not look it sometimes, but I am a very patient person, and no matter what you decide, I would always like to be your friend." Sakura just nodded her head and noticed they were back at the weapon shop they were heading to. When they got inside, Tenten saw them and came over saying, "It's good to see the two of you, Aegean. Naruto, that seal you gave me is a godsend. Lee and Ji are no more than normal talking, and they don't get on my nerves as much anymore. Thank you. Dad says he got all of you weapons done and the Hokage came by and paid for them already. I just have to go and get Dad, he wants to make sure everything is correct." And with that she was left to go to the back. "Hey Sakura-chan, I was wondering, would you like a sword like you used to have also? I know all of the seals and everything for them if you want. I think it might help with the training if you got some weights also, but it's your choice." Naruto said, "I think you are right. We need to get strong fast or all of this would be in vain. I will go and get some battle clothes and be back so I can get gravity seals also. If you don't mind, let them know I know about you so me and Tenten can at least talk about it if we have any problems. I should be back in about 30 minutes if you want to wait here." Sakura said. Naruto just nodded and Sakura left quick. A few minutes later, Tenten and her dad came out of the back with 2 scrolls 11 special kunia, and the katana in a sword sheath. Tenten's dad handed him the katana in inspection style. Naruto pulled it out of its sheath and it transformed for him. After examining it, he noticed everything was exactly like he asked, so he said, "I am even more impressed with the craftsmanship than I originally thought I would be. You are both excellent craftsmen in weapon designs. I can recognize the difference in the sword details to know it was double forged, which mean 2 people had to work on it. That is how I know you had to help Tenten." Tenten and her dad smiled. Then Tenten said, "Thank you. Dad wanted me to get a chance to see a once-in-a-lifetime weapon, so he allowed me to help. She was so excited about it she wanted to be here when you got it. I am impressed that you were able to recognize the double forging. I have personally inspected every one of the 1000 flash kunia you requested." Just then Sakura arrived with a bags of clothes. Naruto said, "I want you both to know that Sakura here know the truth about me, so if you need me for anything and can find her, she is able to get any messages about me. Also the clothes she has in the bag, I need the gravity seal put on them, and she needs a katana also special made." Sakura then handed her bag to Tenten and she went to the back to put the gravity seal on them. Tenten dad looked at Sakura and said, "Since you have the confidence of Naruto here, we will consider you a special customer here, so if you need any weapons or gear let me know. I will also give you both a credit line because I know that weapons can be expensive, but the third said any cost you have send the bill to him and he would deduct it over time from your respective pay. He said that if I need help with either of your weapons to let him know because he would take care of it. That is an impressive feat for someone your age. So tell me about the katana you need. Sakura smiled at him and said, I need one about 3.5 foot long double-sided, and I know I need the same seals Naruto blade has, but the design I want a Sakura tree on both sides with a lining bolt striking the tree and a river beside the tree. I also need Naruto to draw 5 elemental seals for it, also lightning, earth, fire, wind and water, so I can channel my chakra into it and choose which element to attack with. Naruto got a box of blank scroll down and wrote all 5 seals one scroll and gave it to Dustin. Ten came back with Sakura's clothes and gave them to her. I must say you two are going to be a very dangerous team with these weapons. I have never even dreamed about making weapons like these katanas. I need a small cup of blood from you, Sakura, so I can put it in your sword like Naruto's. I should have it finished by tomorrow evening. After Sakura cut her hand and gave the blood, she started to heal it, but by that time it was already done. Then they left and Sakura went home so she could get her things to move the next day, and Naruto went and got his stuff from his apartment ready to move. The next day Naruto met Sakura at the Hokage office. Naruto had his new clothes on and had his sword strapped to his back. Sakura also had her new clothes on. A blue-green dress, with a camo belt around the waist, a pair of camo cargo shorts with pockets for weapon and scrolls, leg-wrapping bandages like Ino wears, a pair of wrist weights and a pair of combat camo high-top shoes. Everything had the gravity seals on them. She was a little slower than normal, but she was adjusting okay. Jiraiya, Tsunade and Shizune met them there, and Naruto and the third told them how to get inside because of the 3 seals. He then led them to the Uzumaki compound. When they got there, everyone went through the 3 seals and got in, and Naruto stopped them after they got inside the gate. Naruto said, Okay, the reason I stopped you is because I am going to put one more seal up real quick. He took out a blank scroll and wrote it out. About 3 minutes later he was done and said, I need all of us to bite our thumb and put a drop of blood on this scroll. After everyone did, he rolled it up and summoned a small fox. Hello Lord Naruto, how may I help you today? Said the fox. Naruto looked at him and said, I need to run around the perimeter here completely with this scroll, and you must stop in the exact spot you started to finish the seal for me. After that he handed the scroll to the fox and it took of in a flash. I asked you for the blood because that is a 5-part seal. Even if someone got by the other seals, if they are not one of us or with one of us within 5 feet of us, then the first thing that will happen is they will instantly be knocked out. Next, each of us will receive a vision of who it is. Third, it put a damage blocker on everything inside of the barrier. So no matter how strong an attack we use, everything will be restored to perfect condition within 1 hour. Fourth is a sound barrier, and the 5th barrier is my favorite. It blocks all chakra sources to the outside world. From the air it look like the surrounding environment. It can be dug under either because this is a perfect barrier, and also it makes it where no one with our blood can die in this sphere from anything but natural death. Also, if someone is using any chakra other than normal life chakra, then they will also be knocked out, so genjutsu and bloodline limits won't work. Also, if someone is a revived warrior like snake-faced, as it will instantly destroy you. So if Itachi or any member of Akatsuki get past the other 1 seals, the last one will make this a perfect battleground to fight for us. It is powered by all of the summon bosses that are under my rule. Naruto said. As the fox finished his circle of the area, he stopped on the exact spot he started, and the scroll flashed a bright light and disappeared. Is that all, Lord? The fox asked. Naruto wrote some notes on a scroll and gave it to the fox as he said, No, I need you to tell all of the summon bosses under me to come this evening about 6 to meet me. Tell them I request their presence so I may formally introduce myself to them, so I may rule wisely. Also, I want you to show that scroll to all of the foxes so they know why I am planning on doing what it says. The fox left after that. When he finished that, everyone was looking at him and he said, "Let me bring Kyubi out and let him explain to everyone. The third already knows this, but I want to be honest with all of you." He then did some hand signs and said, "Kyubi Kage Human Bunshin." Then he did some more hand signs and said, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," and about 100 Naruto clones appeared. "Okay, I want all of you clones to go and clean this area up, including the house, and make a mental map of the place so I don't have to look," Naruto said. Sakura looked at him with a question look. Naruto saw this and gave his foxy grin and said, "Anything a Kage Bunshin learns or does, as long as it was not destroyed when it dispels itself or you dispel it, you learn what it learned. It helps cut training time and chakra control exercise a lot, but it don't help in physical strength exercise." Sakura understood and made hand seals and said, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," and 50 clones appeared. She told them what to do and they went to help Naruto's clones. Kyubi took the time to speak then. "Okay, since I gave Naruto all my power, but the last tail Naruto is now the lord over everything I was. He is now the lord over a total of 9 summon that were under my control: ape, frogs, slugs, falcons, cats, boars, golems, dogs, and foxes. Naruto lives in the mortal realm, but the summons can come here to this realm when they have a dispute. Let's see, I know the third is the summoner for apes. Tsunade, Shizune and Sakura once she signs it Aegean in this timeline are slugs. Jiraiya and Naruto once he signs it Aegean as frogs. The closet pervert Ebisu as cats, even though he was never able to summon the boss. Kakashi as dogs. Naruto is also the foxes, and whoever he chooses to allow to sign it. Boars, golems and falcons I do not believe have anyone now, so Naruto has the right to select who can summon them. And before anyone asks why Naruto does not have my last tail, is for 3 simple reasons. First, if he got that tail I would cease to exist. Second, if he absorbed it he would become a half-demon and live at least 1,000 years. Third, if he absorbed it anyone he truly loved and mated with would also become half-demon, and any children they had would also. So we made a new seal and it allows me to talk to him and give advice to. It also makes it where he can use all 8 of the other tails without his body being damaged, and allows me to possess a Bunshin body like this as long as he is willing to let me. But I am limited like any of his durable Bunshins, a killing blow or chakra depletion, and I go back inside and he can dispel me anytime he likes, and also I get to walk around his mindscape freely, but I cannot take over any part of his body without him giving me access to that body part. Well, I am going to take a nap, CYA. And with that, Kyubi disappeared. After that, everyone was looking at Naruto and he put on his fox smile with his hand behind his head. At that moment both Naruto and Sakura fainted. A few minutes later Tsunade and Shizune had them both back awake. "What happened to the two of you just now?" Tsunade asked. "Information overload. When you use as many Kage Bunshins as we did, it knocks you out for a few minutes so your brain can absorb all the new info. When I use 1,000 clones and they all dispel at the same time I usually am knocked out for a day. Anyway, the compound is clean and ready for use, and so are the grounds," Naruto said. "You should see the hot spring in recreation area," Sakura said as she stood up. "Hot springs, huh?" Jiraiya said. 3.2.1 Jiraiya is sent into the ground by Tsunade. Naruto took the chance to say something. "I still don't know how I was able to travel 3 years with him and not become a pervert. In fact, I hate perverts even more now. Ladies, I am going to do something that is really going to tick Ero Sanin off. Tsunade, I am going to make you a scroll that has a seal on it. If you take it into the hot spring with you and channel some chakra into it, anyone of the opposite sex will be unable to view anything within 100-foot radius of where you originally use it, no matter if they are outside the radius or inside. That got Naruto 3 kisses and 1 crying pervert. Naruto, I know you are all ready to get started training, but have you thought about those other 3 summons who you might give the right to?" the third asked. Naruto looked at him and everyone that was standing there and said, "I have been thinking about it and I have a couple of requests that won't be easy, but they need to be done. I was thinking the fathers of Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru, as well as those 3. I know they are not large families, but they are respected and they did treat me nice the first time around. I would like it if you could bring all of the summoner and them her about 5 o'clock today, as well as everyone who already know about me from the future. The rookie 9 Sasuke, give him survival training in the forest of death or something if possible. I know Hiash is going to be a hard one, but I have a plan to help that. If Tsunade and Shizune will agree, I would like Hinata to also be trained as a medic nin. That will help everyone in a couple of ways. 1. Hinata will become stronger and make the Hyugas look good. 2. It will give us extra help with wounded, and extra field medic. 3. It will give her more confidence, which will also make Hinata look better as an heir. 4. It will also make Hiash have more respect for her. But the only Hyugas I want here are Neji, Hinata, and Hiash. I got a one-time two-way transport scroll for you that can bring everyone in your office here and back, if that will work, so no one will know where here is. Bring Sakura's mom also. So. Ebisu is one I don't like, but he keeps your grandson on his toes. Go ahead and bring Konohamaru also. I would like to request Enma to allow Asuma and you grandson to also be allowed apes. I want to tell them the whole truth, so maybe that might help me in the future. I want the Falcon contract to be kept as part of Ino's family because they are swift, graceful and have the eyes of someone who is pure of heart. That is also why I also want Tenten and Hinata to be allowed to sign it. The Boar contract, I want Choji family and also Lee to sign it because they understand that power and beauty can come in any size, shape and form. They are also kind and protective. The Golem I want to go to Shikamaru's family because it is a creature of wisdom, respect and power. I also want Hiash, Neji to sign it. Also tell Hiash to bring the scroll from Neji dad so that family business can be settled. I know the Fox contract is one everyone is wondering about. I have decided what I am going to do, something that has never been done before, and that is this. I will wait until the meeting to tell though. Tsunade and Shizune looked at each other and then said, Naruto, from the way you just detailed everything, we would be glad to add Hinata as an apprentice. In fact, with the third's permission, we would like to train all of the female members of the team in field medic to help save the lives of their teammates, but only Sakura and Hinata will get the more advanced stuff. The Hokage looked at Naruto and said, Naruto, I may be a great man, but I thinks you might make a greater one. And with that he left. The rest of the day was spent unpacking and settling in until the meeting with everyone. Naruto had his clones set up a reception area while Sakura used her clones to set up drinks and snacks. Jiraiya pulled Naruto to the side and had him sign the frog contract, and Tsunade had Sakura also sign the slug contract. At 5 there was a loud poof sound and a crowd of people all paired out of some smoke. The third told everyone to get some food and drink, then have a seat. After everyone settled down, the third started. I know almost all of you are wondering why we are here and where we are. Well, we are at a special training ground hidden so no enemy can discover what is happening here. First, I know some of the older member of this crowd might get angry with some of what you are fixing to learn, but it is very important that you listen to everything first. Now I would like Naruto to come up and start. At this point a few members of the group started to speak quietly. Naruto ignored it and walked to the front of the stage. Naruto pulled out a large scroll and started talking. I know most of the adults hate me and you have every right to, but you deserve to know why it happened. I hold in my hand the summoning scroll for the foxes. I would like you to each read it before we continue. It took about 15 minutes for everyone to finish looking at it. Now most of you are probably wondering why this is important. I will let our guest speaker tell you. With that, Naruto did a few hand seals and said Kyubi cage human bunshin in a soft whisper. Some of the adults prepared for an attack when the Hokage stepped forward and said, please calm down. The person in front of you is a cage bunshin and can be stopped by just damaging it. The person in front of you is the former lord of most of the summoning of Konoha. The person in front of you is here to tell you why he attacked. He is none other than Kyubi. At that moment almost everyone got ready for an attack until Hiash stood up and in a strong heavy voice, you said he is the former lord, Hokage, who is the current lord? That is when Kyubi started talking. I will answer that after the truth about my attack is told. If everyone is willing to listen and watch, I can show you all what happened and then we can get to the real reason this meeting was called for. I admit what I did was terrible, but the threat that is coming soon will make me look like a thunderstorm compared to a hurricane. If you will wait until the end, we might be able to save this village and its people. With that, Kyubi did some hand signs and a projection started showing everyone what happened and why he had to attack. When it got to the part about it being sealed, he stopped it and sat down. After about 5 minutes of everyone sorting through their emotions, Naruto stepped forward and started talking. Now that you know why he attacked, I will tell the next part. The Yondaime Hokage realized he could not kill Kyubi since he was immortal, so he made it mortal by sealing it into a child. He could not just ask some stranger to give up his or her child, so he used his own newborn son. Me. Almost all record of what the Yondaime last name was erased and destroyed for my safety. The third was afraid Stone would try to kill me or start another war since they feared his Shushin technique. Anyways, that's all in the past. No. I know all of you think I am only 12 and you would be half right. I came back from a little over 5 years from now to try to save the village and its people. When I came back, Konoha was destroyed. Sandar, only a lie at the time, was nearly destroyed. Every other village was destroyed and all women and children alive were enslaved and everyone here was dead. I know many of you have heard about the Sound Village. Well, Orochimaru is the leader of that village. He infiltrates Konoha with 3 objectives. 1. Kill the third. 2. Destroy Konoha. 3. Get the Sharingan. Eventually he get 2 and almost all 3. He forms an alliance with Suna and tricks them after he kills the Cage. At this point, Kyubi starts his slideshow to go with Naruto's story. He takes on the disguise of a grass ninja and was able to put a curse seal on Uchiha Sasuke. I will tell you know that the youngest child of the Cage is a Jinchuriki like I am. He holds the one-tail raccoon demon Shukaka. Right now he is pretty much insane because the demon won't let him sleep or he will take over Gaara's body and slowly destroy his soul. I was able to beat him the first time around and befriend him, and later I changed his seal so he could sleep and control his demon. He was chosen to be the next Cage because he was the most powerful one in his village, but I am jumping ahead a little, so let's get back to the war. Orochimaru has a spy in our village right now named Kabuto. He has several abilities. 1. He can heal almost as fast as I can thanks to Kyubi. 2. He is a very deadly medic nin. He can poison or kill you with his skill. 3. He has what is called info ninja cards. If you give him your name, he will be able to display every skill you have from mission data to favorite attacks or weaknesses. He is very deadly. During the finals, Sound and Sand attacked and Orochimaru killed the third by revving the first and second Hokage as slaves, but the third summoned the death god and sealed Orochimaru's arms. That slowed him down for a little while. After they found the body of the Cage, Sand quickly allied themselves with us. We were hurt, but they were worse. The council approached Jiraiya to be the 5th, but he declined, saying Tsunade was the better choice. He took me for 2 reasons with him to find her. 1. He was already training me for the month before the finals and taught me how to use Cubus Chakra. The second reason is because of a group called Akatsuki. They are a group of 8 missing nin, all S-class, and they want the power of all 9-tailed demons so they can rule the world. Itachi Uchiha and Kasama, his partners, are members of this group. Those 2 I am ready for this time. The group had started to whisper when Itachi's name was spoken, but when Naruto said he was ready for him, Jia stood up and asked, "How can you be ready for them?" Naruto looked at the group who had quit talking at this point were looking at Naruto. Naruto just smirked and said, "Itachi's main weakness is he relies on his Sharingan too much. I know this is going to upset the Honorable Hyugas that are here, but I won't lie. I have a technique that can destroy all I bloodline limits within 15 feet of me, permanently destroying it if I use it. But I will not use it on anyone from the Hyuga family, so you won't have to worry, Hiash. I understand you pretty well, so I give you my word on that." I will also give the three of you here and your other daughter a scroll to sign with a drop of blood that will cancel the jutsu. But only the four of you because some member of your family I don't trust and I will get to that later. As for Kasama, one of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the mist, his sword is his main strength and biggest weakness. I had a sword made with some special abilities sealed inside so when I face him I can destroy it and stop him. Also I know a technique that some of you have seen before but can't be copied. When he said that he threw a kunai at a training log at the back of the group and when it hit a yellow flash appeared where Naruto was and when they looked at the log Naruto was leaning against it grinning. Then he said, "Flying Thunder God." Naruto pulled the kunai out of the log and walked back to the front of the room. Anyways, Orochimaru found Tsunade a few minutes before we did and made a proposal for her to heal his hands and he would bring back her brother and fiancé from the dead. He gave her a week to decide. We approached her about being Hokage and she refused at first but I ticked her off and we made a bet. She bet I could not finish learning the Rasengan in 1 week. Tsunade kept her nickname after that week because I did learn it and used it against Kabuto even though I had not mastered it at the time she gave me her grandfather necklace. Speaking of, I really miss that thing. I want to earn that thing Aegean. Anyways, the snake and Kabuto both escaped and we got the Godime Hokage out of it. Tsunade got over her fear of blood during that fight. Orochimaru finally got the Sharingan after Sasuke defected from the village for his quest for vengeance against his brother. We lost Jiraiya during the battle when we had to destroy Orochimaru and Sasuke body. Now before I continue we should be having some visitors of great honor in a few moments so when they arrive don't freak out and grab your weapons. Naruto said and right on K8 summon bosses appeared. Naruto and Kyuubi walked over to them and said, "Thank you for coming on such short notice. I know the apes, slugs and frogs know me as Naruto Uzumaki the container for Kyuubi but Kyuubi has given me the honor of being the new lord of his domain. To show you that I speak the truth, the only form he can come in unless I summon him is this form. Before I tell you why I asked you to come here, I would like to know if any of you have any doubts or trouble with me being the new lord and following my wishes to the best of your abilities." He waited and after each of them said no he turned to the group of ninja that were watching and said, "If I call your name please come forward." He then turned to the ape boss. "I know you current summoner is the third and I agree with that. I would like to request that his grandson and Asuma who are blood relation be allowed to sign the ape contract and if you wish for them to be tested to see if they are worthy." Asuma, Konohamaru and the third stepped forward at that time and the ape boss looked at them and said, "I have no problem with them signing and I accept the 2 adults. The child Konohamaru, I will let you sign it no and you can learn how to summon but I request you don't summon until you are at least 12 so that away you will be strong enough so you can summon me and when you are finally able to I will accept you also." After that they stepped to the side. Then he turned to the frog boss and said, "I know that Jiraiya is your current summoner and I am also a later in time. I have resigned it to show you the respect you deserve and if you so choose to test me Aegean I accept. I still owe you a drink." Frog boss chuckled and said, "Kid, you make me proud. I still accept you and the pervert hermit as my summoners. I want test you Aegean but you owe me 2 drinks now, ha 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 ha." Next Naruto turned to the slug and said, "I know Tsunade, Shizune and in the future Sakura are your current summoners. Tsunade has already allowed Sakura to resign the contract and I will trust your judgment on when or if you accept her Aegean." The slug boss said, "No need for that, I accept all 3. Next Naruto turned to the cat and said, "I know your current summoner is Ebisu and I know he has never been able to summon you to be tested so I know you judge how much chakra it takes to summon you. I only request that you test him sometime in the next 3 months by your choice of test to see if he is worthy of reducing the price to summon your kind." The cat boss laughed and said, "I like you lord, I will give him a test in 2 months. If he can remove the bell from my oldest daughter neck within the week of the test I will reduce the cost of summoning me to half of his overall chakra." Naruto bowed to the cat boss and then looked at the dog boss and said, I know Kakashi is your current summoner and I will leave you and him to decide who is worthy of summon you with the knowledge he must find someone worthy here in this village within 5 years so you will be respected by the next generation. At this the dog boss bowed his head and that was all. Naruto looked at the falcon next and said, "Do you have a current summoner?" The falcon shook its head no, so Naruto spoke again. "Falcon boss, I would like for you to allow Ino, her father and any descendants they have to be honored to be Thier summon. I also would like for Tenten and Hinata to be tested for your acceptance. They all have the qualities I see worthy of your kind." The falcon looked at the 4 he called over and said, "I have looked into Thier souls and I see no reason not to honor your request." After that Naruto looked at the boar and asked, "Do you have a current summon?" The boar looked at him and said, "Yes I do, but my current summoner has become unworthy. I request that I be given a wiser summoner Lord Naruto." Naruto looked at him and said, "I would like to honor that. I would like Choji and his family to become your new summoners, and I would also like Rock Lee to be allowed to summon you. However in his case his chakra does not work normal so I request he be allowed to summon you with physical energy instead of chakra but not in a endangering amount." The boar looked them over and shook his head in agreement. Next Naruto looked at the golem and asked, "Do you have a current summoner?" The golem looked at him and said, "No, I have had none that were wise enough to summon me." Naruto smiled and said, "Golem, I would like for Shikamaru and his family to become you summoner. They may act a little lazy but they are wise beyond their years. I also would like Hiyashi and Neji Hyuga to be allowed to summon you." The golem looked over them all and said, "I accept them all but the Hyuga will not be able to summon my kind unless those two can come to a peaceful closing in their relationship, then they will be able to." After that was said he told the summons they may leave. After everyone settled down Eiji and Naruto said, "Now that only leaves one summoning left. I have made a decision that affect the Fox summon and I have notified them of it. I want everyone here to sign the Fox contract. You each may summon one Fox as a personal summon. No matter the size or the strength of the Fox, it will cost the same amount of chakra. That amount is equal to half of Lee total chakra he can use. I am doing this for 2 reasons. 1. The Foxes wish to apologize to Konoha for having to attack, so this is a way they can at least get a little of their honor back, and 2. They would be a good ally for the future. The only one who will be able to summon Kyuubi in battle is me since I have control of 8 of his 9 tails. You each will be able to summon a fox and based on who and what you are the fox will choose who is best suited for that fox." At this most of the crowd was talking amongst themselves. "What do you mean you have 8 of his 9 tails?" Hiyashi said. The crowd grew quiet and waited for an answer. Naruto looked at Kyuubi and he started to explain. "I made it where Naruto was able to use almost all of my power without having to worry about damaging his body. We agree on leaving the last tail alone because of the side effects it would have on his life, so we put a new seal on so he gets all of the benefits of my power with no downside." At this point Kakashi asked, "What would happen to Naruto if he absorbed your last tail?" Kyuubi looked at the crowd and over at Naruto and seeing him shake his head said, "First, if he got that tail I would cease to exist. Most would appreciate this. Second, if he absorbed it he would become a half-demon and live at least 1,000 years. All his friends would die and he would most likely live a very lonely life unless he found someone to truly love. Third, if he absorbed it anyone he truly loved and mated with she would also become half-demon with a long life and any children they had would also. So we made it where at least Naruto would have a chance of a family or a semi-normal life if the village ever stopped hating him. Well Naruto, I would like to stay and talk but my body is out of chakra, so if you need me for anything else just bring me back out." And with that Kyuubi poofed out of existence. Aegean. Well, sorry about the distraction now. Now I need to tell you about how Konoha was destroyed. Akatsuki got all 8 of the other tailed demons and they wanted Kyuubi. To make it harder for them to find me, Tsunade made me a member of a 2-person ABNU team. Akatsuki got tired of looking so they attacked Konoha and killed every male in Konoha. They spared the women and children so they could have slaves and servants later. Tsunade lead the survivors to sand and Gaara protected them. I know some of you are wondering how Gaara is alive. When we went to retrieve him after his abduction, one of the elders of Thier village came with us. She used a life-switching jutsu and sacrificed her life so Gaara could live. Anyway, we prepared for one final fight while there in an army of Tsunade, Gaara, Hinata, Sakura, Kankuro, Tenten, Ino, myself and 100 Junin, 200 Chunin and 500 Genin attacked them. In the end, the only 2 survivors were the Akatsuki leader after he absorbed all 8 of the other demons and myself. I had about 5 minutes left before he could have absorbed me when Kyubi and me came back. That's the basic story of everything that's coming. Even if you think killing me will keep them away, it won't. Before they attack Konoha, they completely destroyed cloud, grass, sound, mist and wave country. Well, with this information I would like you all to consider and prepare as best as you can. I also ask you not to notify Sasuke about any of this. We have a plan in motion to hopefully keep him out of the snake bastard's hands, but if he finds out about this, then if the plan fails we have even more of a threat. I also request that you don't tell anyone else about me or any of the info you have. No. The Hokage will notify everyone else a little different so as not to tip our hands. We don't know all of the enemy spies, but we know a few and we are using them to try and find the others. I know some of you might not trust me, but this is the last hope I can try to give us. I can't use that jutsu Aegean because it would kill me. With that, I would like to let you enjoy the drinks and food for a little while before leaving. I would like to see Hiash, Neji and Hinata for a few moments in private. Thank you all for coming and thank you Hokage. After a few minutes, Naruto and the 3 Hyugas were sitting in away from everyone else. Naruto was writing a seal. When he finished he said, Hiash, this scroll is the one I mentioned earlier. The reason I am only want you, your daughters and Neji to sign this is because the Hyuga Council has something they are working on for a while now and I think you should know about it. I know you don't like people messing with your family business, but I believe you will be glad this one time. First, Neji needs to see his dad's will. He is old enough now and you will also need his help. This whole mess started because of what really happened back then. Hiash was concerned at first but gave Neji the scroll from his dad. After he finished reading it, Neji said, I am sorry Hiash Soma, I hated the main family and I apologize. Hiash just nodded and looked to Naruto to proceed. Naruto smiled and said, okay, what you don't know is that after the Hyuga Council saw the way you acted over your brother's action, they set in motion a plan to remove you from the head of the clan. First, they started putting pressure on you to make Hinata stronger while you and her were suffering over her mother's death so that way they could crush her spirit. Second, they started putting a wedge between the 2 of you by saying Hinata was not good enough to be heir. Third, they convinced you to start forcing Hanabi to become stronger, putting her against her sister. Fourth, they started telling you Hanabi was more of a heir than Hinata. Fifth, they convinced you to make both daughters fight each other over and over Aegean to put them even more against each other because they knew Hinata could not hurt Hanabi because she is the only thing of her mother she can see. No. Sixth, they make you disown Hinata and kick her out of the clan and put the cage bird seal on later. Seventh, they start poisoning you so you will have to step down and have Hanabi become heir even though she was not ready. Eighth, after you do that they finish poisoning you. Ninth, they have Hanabi assassinated by a family member. And 10th, they blame Neji for it because they claim he wanted revenge for his father because you started treating him like a main branch after you two made peace after I beat him during the Chunin exam. That is the reason I won't let any of the others sign it because I don't trust the council and I don't know who exactly is involved. I also want you to know after Hinata was kicked out, Tsunade also made her an apprentice with Sakura and she has agreed to do that now because she became one of the best 4 medic nin in the village if you would allow that. Tsunade is going to train Ino and Tenten in field medic also but not apprentice them. Would you allow Hinata to do that? Hiash sat in thought for a little while going over everything he had heard and said painfully because he knew some if not all of it was true, Naruto. I will allow Hinata to be trained by Tsunade. Also, I will look into the information you gave me, and if I find it's true, can I call on you for help dealing with them? Naruto stood up and put his hand out and said, if you need me, I will come and help as soon as I can. I am immune to the Jukin style attack anyways, since I can blow open my chakra points. Either go to the Hokage and let him know, or send a summon a fox and he can deliver a message to me. Also, Neji and Hinata, I want each of you to have one of these. Naruto handed both of them one of the special kunia. Follow me so I can give the others to Air. Then I will explain them. Meanwhile, while that is happening, Tenten cornered Sakura and gave her the sword she had ordered and said, I know Naruto was unusual, but do you think he is telling the truth? If he is, we got to get ready and fast. Sakura looked at Naruto talking to the Hyugas and then back to Tenten and said, sadly, Naruto is only giving the sugar-coated version to everyone. It was worse than he is telling everyone. Naruto maybe act like an idiot sometime, but once you figure out it is just an act so people don't see how sad he is, but he is very loyal to those he respects, and everyone here he respects one way or another. Tenten looked at Sakura and then at Naruto and said, I guess nobody really knows what he has went through and he still acts nice to everyone. I hope people's opinion of him will change someday. Sakura looked at the ground and shed a tear and said, sadly, I know that if he died tomorrow, almost the entire village would throw a party happy he's dead. It makes me want to review how I see the village. You would not believe what has actually happened to him. Anyone else would have probably rolled over and died a long time ago, but he still fights just on hope that someday somebody will see past everything and see him for him. Sakura, how do you know so much about him? I thought you was a member of the Uchiha fan club. Sakura laughed at that for a moment and said, all I can tell you is Naruto is not the #1 hyperactive surprise ninja for nothing. That's all I can tell you. After Naruto gave one to Lee, Tenten, Sakura, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Hinata, Neji, Kiba, and Shino, he said, I am giving these to you in case of an emergency. If any of you get into a situation where you have no hope of surviving, then throw these near you. It acts almost like a summoning. Once it is thrown, I will feel a tug and I can go up to 20 miles in less than 2 minutes, but if it is over that, I may not feel it. I know some of you may be scared of me, but I am still the same Gia you all knew. After he said that, before anyone had a chance to say anything, Naruto walked off and went to rest against a tree. He closed his eyes and tried to rest. Everyone who was at the meeting watched him leave, but nobody said anything. Sakura looked at everyone and then looked at her mom. After making eye contact with her, Sakura walked over and sat down next to Naruto. You know it won't change anything, Sakura. The ones that hate me will still hate me when this is all over. I want you to know I appreciate you being here for me. Naruto said while he still had his eyes closed. Sakura looked at him and asked, how did you know it was me and not someone else? Naruto smiled and said, you are the only person I have ever known who smells of cherry blossoms. Well, I guess I better let everyone leave now so we can get some rest for training. When he said that, he opened his eyes, got up, helped Sakura get up and walked to the Hokage. I think everyone is probably ready to go home, so let me see that scroll I gave you so I can reverse it. The Hokage nodded and gave Naruto the scroll and said, no matter what happens now, I know your dad would be proud, Naruto. Naruto finished writing the seal and said, that should do it. Once you get back to your office, put that scroll someplace fireproof because it will burn to ash 5 minutes after being used. I have to keep this training a secret as much as possible. I will see you later. I am mentally tired right now. Good night, Hokage. And with that, Naruto walked off toward the house in the center of the compound. May I have everyone's attention? I need everyone who came with me here to gather around in a circle so we can go back to my office. The third said. Everyone looked at each other and walked over to him except Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Sakura. Ino saw Sakura staying behind and yelled, hey forehead girl, are you coming? Sakura looked at her and said, "Sorry Ino, I got training to do." Ino was fixing to ask what she was talking about when the Hokage activated the scroll and the group was back in the Hokage office. Everyone was looking around and at each other until the Hokage said, "All right everyone. I want each of you to treat this as an S-class secret. If you have any questions about it, come and talk to me about it, but I am putting the codename of Phoenix on this, so if you come to talk to me about it, say you need to talk about the Phoenix project. Then wait until I make sure the office is secure and tell you it's okay to speak. I have more details than what you have, but you all do the everything to help you prepare for this. If any of you have doubts about the boy, I have seen more than enough proof. There is only 31 people in this whole village that knows these details. 25 are in this office. No. You cannot give the details to anyone or it will be treason. Remember the Fox contract each of us sign is a good way to communicate with other who signed it, but remember how hated they are here and remember to use them sparingly. If anyone spots the Kabuto character, leave him alone for no. From what I have seen and heard, he can fight even for a while with Tsunade. We plan on using him to give false info if at all possible. Like it or not, Naruto may have not only saved the leaf but the world. In regards to the fighting during the Chunin exam, Naruto, Jiraiya, Tsunade can act as field generals since they have all the info of the orgonal attack, but remember things can change. Us being here right now is proof of that. We may have some allies later if things work out like planned, but I won't give detail now. If that is all, you are all dismissed. With that everyone left but Hiyashi, who sent Neji and Hinata home. What is it, Hiyashi? The third asked. I wanted to let you know a lot of opinions were changed about that boy tonight. I know he was hitting some details. I could see his body language, even though it was very subtle. I also have a question, how can he do so much with seals like it is nothing? The third looked at him for a moment and said, I will tell you this first because Naruto told me in private that although you are a prideful man, you are also a trustworthy man. The version of events he told everyone tonight was a censored version. The true extent of the damage, death and future enemies' strength would break almost everyone. I asked him to only give the most needed info. As for the seals, he was trained orgonally by Jiraiya for over 3 years and he taught him a lot about seals. He also has the Kyuubi helping give knowledge with his seals, but before him and Kyuubi came to terms that they have no, he studied every type of seal he could to make sure the demon could not escape or it could not be taken away very easy. He has literally became a seal master better than his dad ever was. That sword he showed us tonight is very unique. It has so many seals on it that only him or future heirs of his could wield it properly. If you go to the Wolfclaw weapon shop, he gave them a seal called a gravity seal that is on all his cloths. It is a constant changing seal that grows with the physical strength of the person wearing them. No matter how strong you are, it will make it feel like you have 20 extra pounds on but can be released with a simple hand sign. Yesterday, Naruto's weights were up to 1400 lbs overall and he was upset. He said he wanted to get back to 10,000 pounds overall. He was that strong and still had to come back to change things. Think how strong our enemy is if we don't stop them in time. I have already told all the Genin team Junin to have each member of their team to get some tomorrow on all clothes. After the third said that all color in Hiyash's face was gone and he said, I am going to get me and Hanabi some of those gravity seals. Also I will bring that scroll Naruto gave me and wanted Hanabi to also sign. Thank you for your time, Hokage. Good night. After that he left and the Hokage was thinking, Naruto, you just might make Hokage one day yourself. The next day the Wolfclaw weapon shop had a surprising number of people coming in to get the gravity seals on combat and training clothes. All of Team 8, 9, and 10 decided to do group exercises which included 5 laps around Konoha, 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 50 punches on a practice log with each arm and 50 kicks with each leg. Then they were showed how to do the tree climbing exercise. After about 30 minutes most of the genin were ready to pass out, so the senseis told them to rest the rest of the day but keep their clothes that had gravity seal on them on so they could get used to them. Lee cried to Jia because he could not get anyone to spar after the training exercise. Jiraiya awoke to what sounded like a war going on. He walked outside and fell on his butt with what he was seeing. Naruto had created 1,000 clones grouped together in 10 groups and had them working on different tasks. Group 1 was working on tree climbing, Group 2 was standing on one hand and has a Rasengan in the other hand. Group 3 was working on wind control by cutting leaves off a tree while hanging upside down. Group 4 was working on throwing shurikens. Group 5 was working on summoning different level frogs. Group 6 was working on summoning different foxes and finding out who their personal summoner was. Group 7 was working on Shushin. Group 8 was working on fire attack. Group 9 was working on earth attacks, and Group 10 was working on water attacks. Naruto himself had the Kyuubi Bunshin standing by him telling him how to attack the training post with his sword. After about 30 minutes of watching this go on, Jiraiya went to find Tsunade. Tsunade had woke up earlier than Jiraiya and she went to find her new apprentice Sakura. She found her with about 50 clones of her own, but they were all working on water walking while the original Sakura was slicing at a tree with chakra scalpels. She went over to her and started asking questions about her training and asked her to demonstrate what she knew. After finding out most of what Sakura knew and advise her what to work on, she went to find Jiraiya. Shizune had got up real early that morning and got rid of all the sake and poker cards she could find in the house. Then she sat about fixing breakfast for everyone. When she was finishing cooking breakfast, Jiraiya and Tsunade walked in and sat at the table in a daze. Shizune saw this and asked, "What's wrong with you two today?" They both looked at her like she was crazy and said at the same time, "I am getting too old for this." Shizune was confused, so she asked, "Tsunade, what do you mean?" Tsunade said, "That girl Sakura, when she gets her chakra control fine-tuned and get her physical stamina up, she will be a better medical ninja than I am. She knows techniques of mine that I was not able to do until I was in my 30s, and she knows the theories of everything else I know how to do. I say probably in 5 years she could probably beat me with one hand tied behind her back." Shizune was shocked but got over it when she looked at Jiraiya and asked, "Well, what's your story?" His answer was, "Follow me to the front of the compound." When all three of them got to the front of the compound and watched Naruto work, they stood there for about 20 minutes. "Hey Tsunade, I think we both agree that there is not much we could teach our orthogonal students from their point of view, but they might be able to grow even more if we switch students. Sakura has Naruto's knowledge but never actually trained those skills and defined them for her. Naruto has Sakura's knowledge but the same can be said for him. I think we should train them until lunch every day and let them carry their own skills after that. Me and you can work on getting ourselves stronger to fight our old teammate, and you and Shizune can work on the other 3 girls also." So Jiraiya said. Tsunade thought it over and said, "I think that might actually work, but if you try anything perverted I should warn you. Remember, her and the boy are close. She also knows the secret of my super strength and she is very good with chakra scalpels. In other words, you may be a man now but that don't mean you will be if you try anything." Jiraiya laughed at that and said, "You always know how to kick a Jia when he's down, but you also know how to put him back together, Aegean. That's one of the things I always love about you." Tsunade looked at him like he was crazy and turned to walk away, but as she was turning, Jiraiya put his foot out to trip her and he caught her as she was falling and in one swift motion put a kiss on her lips. Shizune watched it all happen and her jaw hit the floor. Kyuubi saw it and said, "Naruto, look over there," as he was pointing at them. The next thing anyone heard was 1001 clones popping out of existence because Naruto passed out. Sakura came around the house just in time to see Naruto falling, so she rushed over to him without seeing what was happening with her sensei. When she got there and revived him, he saw her and said, "I think I just lost my mind. I thought I saw Jiraiya and Tsunade kissing in front of the house." Sakura immediately looked in that direction and nearly passed out. Jiraiya was carrying Tsunade into the house bridal style while still kissing her. Shizune walked over to the both of them and said, "I think my mind just snapped. Did either of you see Tsunade and Jiraiya making out?" They both were still looking toward the house and shook their heads yes. Naruto was the first to say anything. "I think I need a drink. Want to join me? Let's go to Ichiraku and get it so I don't have to be thrown out." Both of the ladies just shook their heads okay. Ninja are allowed to drink because they are old enough to die protecting their village. After the fourth bottle of sake they shared, the third Hokage walked up ghost white and said, "I think I just lost my mind. I went to see all of you at the compound, and when I walked into the front room Jiraiya was on one knee and Tsunade had a ring on her finger saying yes. Then they saw me and asked would I marry them later. I just left there and came here to get a drink." All four of them looked at the owner and said at the same time, "I need a drink." 2 bottles later the Genin team senseis all came in and saw the four drinking and asked, "What's going on?" At that moment Jiraiya and Tsunade walked by hand in hand and was stopping every person in town telling them, "Guess what, we are getting married." After the senseis saw this they looked at the four that were still drinking and said the same thing, "I'll have what they are." Tsunade and Jiraiya was halfway across town and stopped Kabuto telling him they were getting married. Kabuto was in shock because he recognized both of them, and though I think my master might want to know about this, so he went to his room and summoned a small snake and told it to tell Orochimaru the other two Sannin were getting married together. When Orochimaru heard that from summoned snake, he followed everyone else led and said, "I need a drink." Needless to say that day Konoha ran out of sake. The next day was declared an official day off for everyone because everyone in town that knew the new couple had a very heavy hangover. Naruto and Sakura had both summoned IP3 and Kyuubi, so it would be a little quitter in their heads. IP3 and Kyuubi went and had dinner together at the compound. They both started making plan about Sakura and Naruto. They also joked because they both knew how to get over the hangover for Sakura and Naruto, but they decided to let them suffer. Sakura overheard that part and went to tell Naruto. When she did, they both thought the same thing, those sadists, so Naruto taught Sakura how to change her own mindscape and they made plans to get revenge. When Sakura cancelled IP3 Bunshin, IP3 found herself in a room filled with Rock Lee and Guy posters everywhere. When Naruto cancelled Kyuubi at the same time, he found himself surrounded by 10,000 rabid fangirls. Within a half an hour both Naruto and Sakura's hangover were gone. They spent the rest of the day just talking and trying to figure out what their relationship is. The next day Jiraiya and Tsunade told Sakura and Naruto the new plan and started training them. In the morning it was teacher and student. After lunch Naruto and Sakura started sparring, giving the other advice on techniques in jutsu, sword fighting, chakra control exercises. It proceeded like that over the next couple of weeks. Naruto got to about 4,000 pounds overall weight and Sakura got to about 2,000 pounds. They also figured out a way to communicate without saying anything in battle. They called it Gemini Battle Link Jutsu. It was mostly IP3 and Kyuubi that invented it, but they figured out a set of hand seals for Sakura and Naruto to use to activate it. When they had sparring session with Jiraiya and Tsunade, it helped give them an edge. Even though they could not beat them, they forced them to about 2/3 of their overall max. Tsunade and Jiraiya were both also getting back into their peak conditions. Naruto and Sakura had located the Uzumaki private library, and after Naruto figured how to get by the seals, they would spend Saturday in the library using mass shadow clones jutsu to go through the library. Sakura got up to about 200 clones and Naruto stayed at 1000 so not to hurt himself mentally. Together they had only made it halfway through the first floor in 3 weeks. The library still had 2 other floors with more books. Sunday became rest days. Naruto had informed Sakura, Tsunade and Jiraiya about his plan for the mission to Wave, and they work out a couple of plans. Sakura, Tsunade, and Shizune started testing Naruto healing ability and comparing it to Sakura's. It turned out Naruto blood type was O positive and Sakura's was also, so when the two blood mixed, Sakura body started changing her blood makeup to match that of Naruto's. They also discovered that Sakura DNA was even changing in a good way. Some scars she had for years had completely disappeared. They also found that her healing was becoming just like Naruto's. Instead of healing damaged tissue, as was actually regenerating. Also, they found that Sakura's blood had become immune to some poisons. Not as many as Naruto, but more than a normal person. Tsunade also got over her fear of blood at this time after they found out Naruto could heavy bleed for over an hour without passing out. The secret about Naruto's hair finally came out when Sakura's hair grew 6 inches in 10 days. Naruto hair grew at an increased rate, and after it gets so long it starts getting red tips on it, so he always cut it to keep that a secret. Kyuubi and Ip3 had both went through the other's memories and knowledge and organize it where if they needed certain information Sakura or Naruto could get it, but it would not flood through them getting confused. They made a promise to stay out of the personal memories so they could respect the other's privacy, and made Ip3 and Kyuubi agree to it on threat of the fanclub torture Aegean. It has now been 4 weeks since the big meeting. The third Hokage came to the compound to check on Naruto and Sakura's progress. When he got there, he saw Naruto on one side of a field while Sakura was on the other side getting ready for a face-off. Sakura pulled out her sword in her right hand, channeling chakra into it while doing one-handed hand signs with her left, and screamed out, "Earth style! Earth tidal wave!" as she stabbed her sword into the ground. A 30-foot-tall tidal wave came out of the ground and charged at Naruto. Naruto started doing one-handed hand signs in each hand for 2 separate attacks. He finished the one in his right hand and yelled, "Earth style! Earth dome!" and a dome of solid dirt circled him, and the tidal wave hit it and covered it completely, burying the dome. A few moments later, Naruto voice said, "Earth style! Headhunter jutsu!" and 2 hands grabbed Sakura feet, pulling her underground. Naruto came out of the dirt a few feet away from her and threw a shuriken with his right hand at Sakura's head that was sticking out of the ground, while his left hand pulled out his sword of his back and blocked the sword strike from above him that a second Sakura was attacking with. The one in the ground disappeared in a puff of smoke when the shurikens hit her. When the 2 swords met with the Stregoth Sakura's put into the strike, a 10-foot spider web-like crater appeared underneath Naruto. Naruto started pushing Sakura back into the air with his sword immediately after they hit, and she flew backwards. When she hit the ground, she rolled a few feet and stuck her sword in the ground to keep from rolling farther away. She then stood up and started doing one-handed seals in each hand with her sword in front of her. Naruto saw which seals she was doing and recognized one in her right hand as a fire jutsu, so he started doing a 2-handed seal and called out, "Water style! Hidden mist jutsu!" and the entire area became covered in a thick mist. Sakura finished her left hand first and said, "Wind style! Tornado slice jutsu!" and a tornado appeared in the middle of the area and started sucking up all the mist, and when Sakura saw Naruto, she had just finished her right-handed seal and said, "Fire style! Fireball jutsu!" as she brought her hand to her mouth. 10 balls of fire shot at Naruto, and he pulled his sword out of the ground and used it as a shield to block all of the fireballs. After they finished hitting his shield, Naruto looked at Sakura and said, "Good match, but it's over, look behind you." And then he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Sakura started to react, but a kunai was at her neck. Sakura sighed and said, "Good match." Naruto, who was standing behind her, took the kunai away and handed her a bottle of water and a towel to wipe the sweat off. "When did you switch? I know it was not when you were in the mist, because if you had, my tornado would have sucked up your clones before they ever touched the ground." Naruto laughed and said, "You always are the smart one. Yeah, when I block your sword attack and you flew backwards, you could not see me in that time, so I created a shadow clone and used one of my special kunai and shushin to get behind you. When you stood up, you were focused on my clone so much that you did not check behind you. Then all I had to do was wait for the right moment." Just then they both heard 3 people clapping, and the third walked up and said, "That was a very good match, you two." I say you are both at least high chunin maybe low junin in skill tier. I have also heard about the new Just Su created to work on battle coordination without talking, and that could be very useful in battle. I came by to evaluate you both to see if you are ready for a mission, and I believe you are. Sakura and Naruto looked at each other and then at the Hokage, and Naruto asked, which mission? The third laughed and said, nothing too hard, just an easy C-rank bodyguard mission to wave. Naruto and Sakura both got evil grins at that and said together, Tazana the bridge builder. The third then shook his head yes, and Jiraiya stepped forward saying, I will be your sensei on this one, but I will mostly be observing both of your progress. Tsunade will be staying to work with the others, as will Shizune. Naruto, you are sure you want to try and get Zabuza and that kid Haku to join us, right? Naruto just smiled and shook his head yes. Sakura said, I admit I am a little nervous, even though we know what's supposed to happen does not mean it will. This is our actual first mission and I know it will be tough after we get back, but I agree with Naruto, the firepower those two have can really help us. The next morning Naruto, Sakura and Jiraiya met in the Hokage office to meet Tazana before they left. Naruto had on a pair of black and green camo pants with a shuriken holster and kunai pouch on his right leg. He had a dark green and blue shirt on with pockets for scrolls on it. He also had a long green and black camo duster covering most of his clothes and concealing his sword on his back. Sakura had on a green and black dress with green shorts on. She had on the bandages most female ninjas wear around her upper legs with a kunai and weapon pouch on her left leg. She had a black and green with a little blue camo jacket that had pockets for storage on it so she could conceal her sword. Tazana walked into the room drunk and said, You are trying to get me killed. 2 kids and an old man is what I get for the money I paid. Naruto laughed at him and said, We may be just kids but we are ninjas. If we have to give our lives so make sure a mission is completed then we are willing to do so. Beside this is just a C-rank mission with no chance of enemy ninjas, so even if we get into trouble our Junin sensei is more than enough to bail us out. He may look old but in the life of a ninja you don't get old unless you are very good. Tazana just drank some more sake and said, Well, I feel a lot safer now. If we get attacked you could talk the attackers to death. Sakura started to get ticked off at that until Naruto put his hand on her shoulder. Jiraiya took the opportunity to say, Okay, let's go so we can get this mission over started, and with that all 4 of them left. Naruto said he would meet them at the gate and ran ahead of the group. Sakura was about to ask why when she seen the people giving Naruto glares as he ran ahead to the gates. She looked at the ground and thought, why can't these people give him a break, and why did Naruto leave his team to get to the gate first? Because he knows how everyone treats him and he does not want them to hate you for being with him any more than he has to. Ip3 said in Sakura's head. When they got to the gates Naruto was sitting outside the gates against a tree with a black eye and a busted lip, and Sakura asked, What happened? Naruto just smiled and said, I was so excited about the mission I did not look where I was going. Jiraiya just shook his head because he knew it was a lie and was thinking, stupid idiot villagers, I would like to introduce them to a Rasengan for treating the boy like this. Tazana drank some more sake and said, And you supposed to protect me? Naruto jumped in front of him and held Sakura and Jiraiya off saying, We can't kill the client no matter what. We took an oath to fulfill our mission any way possible. Let's go. And with that he took off, taking the lead going to Wave Country. Sakura took position just behind Tazana on the right and Jiraiya on the left. 3 hours later they spotted the puddle that had the demon brothers in it, and Naruto formed a Rasengan behind his back as they approached and pretended to slip, shoving the Rasengan into the puddle, throwing the 2 demon brothers out, knocking them out in the process. Naruto looked at Tazana and said, I guess the old saying about being lucky then skilled is true. I was trying a new technique I am trying to learn. But the big question is, why are ninja after you? Me and Sakura have never left the village before, and our sensei Thier is so famous that no one is crazy enough to attack him unless they have an entire army, so that leaves you. Want to explain? After he explained to them about Gato and the wave country, they tied up the two brothers and sent a summon to have Abnu come get them. Jiraiya then said, "We will continue this mission even though it is now an A-rank mission. When your country gets back on its feet, you will have to pay the difference in pay plus a small fee for not giving us important information." After that was settled, they finally got to the shore of Wave Country, and as soon as they got to the other shore, they set up camp for lunch. Naruto walked off from the group and summoned two foxes. A red 4-foot fox and a 5-foot tall blue fox. The blue fox said, "What can we do for you, Lord Naruto?" Naruto told them, "I want you to go into the woods and you will find a house suspended in the trees by cables. When you find it, find a short man who wears a suit and walks with a cane named Gato. Capture him and bring him to my location alive as fast as possible. I know you may have to hurt him, but I need him alive for my plan to work. I want it done as stealthy as possible until you get to my location. I will probably be in a battle, but do not get involved in the fight. Now go and hurry." With that, the two foxes left quickly in search of their prey. Naruto came back to the group and ate his lunch with them. Sakura and Jiraiya looked at him questionably, but he just shook his head like nothing's wrong. After about an hour, they packed up and camped, destroying all traces that they had been there, and continued on their journey. They traveled for about 2 hours when Naruto smelled Zabuza. Naruto threw a kunai and scared the rabbit Aegean when Zabuza's sword came flying at the group and sticks to a tree with Zabuza standing on it. All three of the ninjas yelled, "Down," at the same time as it approached them. Sakura pulling Tazana down with her. "Zabuza, demon of the mist. I must say it is quite a surprise to meet someone of your reputation," Naruto said as he pulled out his sword and did the seal for the Gemini battle link jutsu. "Sakura, I will fight him and stall until my surprise package gets here. Guard Tazana and help the pervert. Rimber Haku is around here somewhere and his ice mirrors are deadly," Naruto said through the link. "Okay Naruto, be careful." "What package? You never said anything about a package," Sakura said. Naruto looked at her for a second and then looked at Zabuza, who had just landed in front of the group. Naruto made 50 shadow clones and had them make 2 spheres. One around Tazana and one around him and Zabuza. "So Zabuza, I guess you must be tired of running from Hunter Nin if you would work for a man like Gato," Naruto said as they clashed swords. Zabuza tried to overpower him and said, "You don't know what you talking about, kid." Zabuza made some hand signs and said, "Water style. Hidden mist jutsu," and the entire area was covered in mist. Sakura, remembering how she countered Naruto doing this attack, did hand signs and said, "Wind style, tornado slice jutsu," which removed all of the mist and also sucked up a water clone Zabuza had just created, destroying it. Zabuza laughed and said, "I thought your little friend over there was going to watch. Looks like you need help to beat me. No matter. When I kill you, she will be next." Zabuza then jumped out onto the lake that was beside where they had been fighting. Naruto smirked and ran out onto the lake, and after about 10 feet he slipped under the water and created another Kage Bunshin. He had the Kage Bunshin climb out of the water and charge Zabuza. Zabuza smirked and did hand signs, and as the Bunshin reached Zabuza, a ball of water surrounded the clone and Zabuza said, "Water style. Water prison jutsu." He then said, "I will just hold you there until you drown." The Naruto in the prison just smirked and said, "Look underneath," and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Zabuza immediately started looking for the real boy when a fist came out of the water, hitting Zabuza in the chin, knocking him into the air. Naruto jumped after him and kicked him in a reverse backflip, sending him back to shore. When Zabuza hit the shore, he skidded for a moment and stood up, swinging his sword and destroying about 10 shadow clones Naruto had created at the beginning of the fight. Zabaza then started to do one-handed seals as 10 more clones came charging at him when one of Naruto clones that had stayed still looking for an opening threw a shuriken and hit him in the hand, stopping his jutsu. They started going into a quick and deadly sword fight, Naruto slashing at Zabaza head who dodges and parry to the right, and then next he thrust at Naruto who backflips and lands on the tip of the blade and slashed at Zabaza's head. Zabaza drops his sword and jumps back a few feet. Next he grabs a kunai and throws it at Naruto who grabs it but notices an exploding tag on it and drops it before jumping back. Zabaza Runin grabs his sword and charges at Naruto. This goes on for about 10 minutes until Zabaza starts losing. Naruto bites his thumb and wipes the blood on a scroll, then he does some hand signs and says, "Beast summoning, Fox Fang summoning pursuit," and slams the scroll to the ground. 2 foxes jump out of the ground and bite into each of Zabaza's arms. Haku, who has been watching all this, throws some needles into Zabaza's neck and jumps down and says, "I am a hunter nin from the hidden village of Mist. My mission is to take Zabaza out. Thank you for the help." He starts to walk toward him when Naruto says, "Before you take Zabaza, who I know is still alive, I have an offer for the both of you. I will not kill you or him, but I request you to revive him so I can tell you both my proposal." Haku. At that moment Haku froze in his spot. Haku turns to face Naruto and asks, "How do you know my name?" Naruto smiles one of his real smiles and says, "I will tell you if you promise on the life of your precious person that you both will wait until I tell you my offer. Gato was planning on killing you two after you finish this mission for him anyways because he is a greedy man and Zabaza is not cheap." At that point the 2 foxes Naruto summoned earlier came into the field, dragging Gato between them, screaming. Sakura and Jiraiya, thinking it is an attack, get into battle position for the new threat until they see the foxes and realize what's going on. Haku see this, then looks at Naruto and says, "I will promise on my precious person to listen, but I cannot make the decision if we will take your offer. I am a tool to my master." Naruto says, "I understand, if you will allow it, my friend. There is a medic nin and she can help you to heal his wounds. I give you my word on my precious people that you or him will not be harmed. I do know how your ice mirrors work and I can counter them, so please don't break your word. I must ask you to remove his weapons so he does not think he is still under an attack when he is revived. I have no objection to her helping. If what you say is true, you could have already killed the both of us." Haku said. Naruto turned to Sakura and said in the link, "Sorry for not telling you about Gato. It came to me on the boat ride to this shore. Help heal any life-threatening injuries, but stop there until we talk to him. I don't want you to get hurt." Sakura starts walking over to help Haku but stops by Naruto long enough to hit him on the head and scream at him, "You baka, if you ever do that to me again I will hurt you so bad it will take a month for you to get out of the hospital." Jiraiya walks over to Gato and the 2 foxes growl at him and he said, "Relax, I am an ally of your lord over there. I just want to check him to make sure he won't die before he can be punished." The foxes looks at Naruto who just shakes his head and they drop Gato out of their mouths and walk to Naruto who says, "I want to thank you both for following my orders. Did you have to kill anyone?" "No, Lord Naruto, we were able to grab him from his bedroom before anyone discovered us. I injected a sleep poison from my fangs into him so he could not raise the alarm, but it wore off after 30 minutes. Is there anything else you need, Lord?" The blue fox said, "No, that will be all for now. Go home and get some rest, you have earned it." Naruto said, and with that they disappeared in 2 puffs of smoke. Naruto walked over to where Sakura and Haku were working on Zabaza. When he arrived, Zabaza was awake and Haku had already told him everything that happened while he was out. He then looked at Naruto and asked, "What is this offer you have for me?" Gato, who had just been dragged over by Jiraiya, hears this and starts screaming, "I don't care what they offer you, I will double it if you will just kill them now and finish your mission." Zabaza looked at him and said, "Shut up, little man, or I will kill you." He then looks back to Naruto. "Well, Like I said earlier, I know you are tired of being hunted down, not knowing if some lucky hunter nin will kill you or some contract you are working for turns you in and betray you, so here is my deal. We are from the village hidden in the leaf and we are not allied with the mist, so we can offer you a chance to get off the wanted list if you are willing to join the leaf. You will have to go through a probation period to make sure you are not a spy, but at least you and Haku will have a safe place to sleep and live. I know Haku sees himself as a tool for you, but I also know you see him as the closest thing to a son you ever had. As for how I know both of your names, I study missing nin names and known allies. I read a report once someone wrote about you and Haku. I will give you time to think this over. We have to deal with Gato no. Naruto walked over to him and started pumping most of his killer intent out. It was strong enough everyone there was backing away from Naruto, and he said, Gato, let's have a little talk, shall we? I have heard about some of the crimes you have done to this country and we are going to a business agreement. What kind of deal? Gato asked, quivering. Naruto sat down and wrote out a contract, which he then handed to Gato and said, the deal is as follow. In exchange for me not killing you, you will sign this contract that states all of Gato's shipping, industry and sub-companies and employees, and will include all of you money except for an amount of $1,000 a month will be given to the country of Wave. That $1,000 a month will be your salary to live on. You will be under house arrest with a seal I will put on you. You may leave the house during the day to work a job of hard labor paying back this country for what you did to it. The seal can only be removed if you have made penance enough for this country to forgive you. If you try to escape or leave the property of your house arrest, the seal will give you 3 warnings. The first will make you feel like you are being electrocuted until you return to your house. The second time it will make you feel like you are on fire until you return to your house. The third will be a combo of both until you return to your house. The 4th time it will destroy your body. Do we have a deal? Tazana, who watched all of this happen, could not believe what he was seeing. Gato bowed his head and signed the contract. Naruto took the contract, had everyone there sign it and gave it to Tazana and said, as the only representative to the country of Wave here, I give this contract to you to give to the proper authorities. Naruto walked back over to Zabuza and said, I will let you think about the offer if you need time, we still have a mission to complete. I will summon a small fox and leave it with you so you can go and recover from your injuries. If you agree, just tell the fox and he will tell me. I say we should finish this mission within the next 2 weeks. If you decline, I will understand, but if you decide to attack us or any leaf ninja, the offer is voided and I will not hesitate to kill either of you. I may be a genin, but I am more powerful than most junin. And with that, Naruto summoned a fox and told it to stay with them for 2 weeks and what to do. Naruto then made 5 shadow clones and had one henge into a stretcher and carried Gatos to the village where Tazana lived. When they got there, they told the village council and had Gatos put into an older rundown house. Naruto put the seal on him and one on the house so it would interact with Gatos' seal. Naruto, Sakura, and Jiraiya met Tazana daughter Tsunami and his grandson Inari. Everything went great for the first week. During the middle of the second week, the bridge was nearly finished because most of the town was helping, when Gatos and a bunch of mercenaries showed up at the bridge and said, well, I made that deal with you, but I lied. As soon as I have these men kill you and get me that contract back, and I will have everything back and I will destroy this bridge. You think you outsmarted me with that seal. After you're dead, I will hire someone to remove it for me. Now men kill them. Naruto looked at all the villagers and at his teammates. He then said, you are truly a fool, Gato. I gave you a chance to live, you won't get a second. The villagers grabbed anything they thought could be made a weapon and got behind the leaf ninjas. Naruto and Sakura both made 25 clones each and formed a 2-line defense with them. The mercenaries charged the ninja, and when about half the clones and most of Goto's men were either dead or gone in puffs of smoke, Gato started screaming, let me go, I don't want to die, which caused everyone to stop fighting and look at Gato. Gato was being held by the neck by Zabuza and Haku was standing next to him. Zabuza then took out his sword and said, Gato, you are a waste of life, your kind of people is why I left my village. I will give the choice of punishment to the boy there, pointing to Naruto. Naruto turned to the villagers and said, well, what do you want to do to him? Inari stepped forward and said, he should die the way he killed my dad. Most of the villagers agreed. The rest of Gato's men started to run and help their boss, but Naruto started emitting killer intent again and they turned and ran away. Work was stopped on the bridge that day and Zabuza carried out the public execution for the village. Gato was buried in a potter's grave. After that mess was taken care of, Haku and Zabuza approached Naruto and asked, are you sure your village Hokage will accept me and Haku? Naruto looked at Jiraiya and Jiraiya said, if he does not approve, I give you my word as one of the 3 legendary Sannin to give you safe passage personally out of Fire Country. But since all 3 of us are backing you, the Hokage will agree. He trusts our judgment. Zabuza nodded and said, we will come with you when your mission is over. Sakura took Haku off to the side and started talking about medicine and what life is like in the Hidden Leaf. The bridge was finished 2 days later and the group of 5 ninjas left to go home. A group of villagers asked Tazana what to call the bridge. Tazana thought it over and said, I think we should call it the Uzumaki Naruto Bridge of Hope. The villagers all agreed. On the way back, Naruto stayed about 30 feet behind the rest of the group, walking with his head down looking at the ground. After about 3 hours, Sakura started to get worried, so she used the Gemini Battle Link Jutsu. She was fixing to talk to him until she heard Naruto and Kyuubi talking. Naruto said, I know Kyuubi, I was able to save Haku this time and got both of them to come with us. I am happy about that, but I don't want to get back to the village yet. Kid, I know how you feel. I still can't believe they attacked you right before we left the village. I counted 30 of them. You could have killed them all, but you just let them beat you because they don't consider you a threat yet. If Gia team had not been running by the ally, they might have tried to kill you. If they knew how strong you were, I do not doubt most of the village would come for your head. I healed you as fast as I could before the pervert and Sakura got there, but I was not fast enough, Kyuubi said. Naruto was quite a moment before he said, the worst thing is Sakura and I might have a chance at a relationship and I would love that. I mean, we did sort of kiss, but she could blame that on emotional stress from the memory switch. I never had a real relationship with anyone until me and Sakura spent nearly a year and a half together alone, away from all of our friends and her family. I know I should quit living in the past of future how you look at it, but I don't know how to. Kyuubi said, Kit, I think she is trying to sort out her own feeling also. I mean, look what has happened since you came back. You have already changed the future Naruto, even if it is only a little. I think what you should do is probably just be happy with the friendship you have with her now, but maybe you should distance yourself from her so she does not get hurt. I mean, in a few years, win or lose, she is going to have to live with the choices she has made. Maybe you should let fate decide. At least she respects you a little more than she did the first time. Remember Sasuke this and Sasuke that. And that time you saved her life from Gaara, and even when Sasuke said it was you who saved her, she said it had to be Sasuke because you were not strong enough. Naruto sighed and said, remind me to give dear old dad a good beating when I die. Kyuubi, are you sure we can't use that time travel jutsu Aegean? I mean, we could go back to when I first lived on my own after the villager tried to burn me alive in my first apartment and let them think I died. Then the villagers would not hate me, none of my friends would get hurt, Sakura could get a chance with Sasuke and I could get stronger to kill the snake and Sasuke brother so they would not screw their lives together. I don't like the fact that Sakura has started noticing how the villagers stare at me. Hey, we both feel the same way, Kit. If I could have kept from attacking I would have, but you don't deserve everything you had to put up with. You and me both know what will happen if you get involved with anyone. Either the villagers would use her or hurt her to get to you, or she would grow to hate you for the way they treat her because of you. That not even count what they do to any kids. And no, I was not kidding when I said you would die if you went back Aegean. Kyuubi said. Naruto was quiet for a while and finally said, Fox, you are right. Haku told me the first time that a ninja must kill their heart to truly be a ninja. I know it will hurt, but I am just going to have to kill my heart and dreams so more people don't die. Once we get rid of the tailed demons and I am the last and I know they won't come back, I will just leave this realm and go to the summon world. I'll space myself from everyone so when I disappear nobody will get hurt. If no one loves me then no one will miss me. Well, I can see the gates up ahead, so I guess I should act like everyone thinks I should, an idiot. Yahoo, we are home, let's go see the Hokage and fill out our report. Naruto yelled. When they got to the gates, 4 members of ABNU appeared and Jiraiya told them that Haku and Zabuza wanted to join the village. They took guard position around the group and led them to the Hokage office. Sakura, who secretly overheard the conversation, cancelled the jutsu and started thinking, why does he have to suffer so much? I mean, what did he ever really do to deserve all of this? What should I do? IP3 said, well, as far as I can tell you have a couple of options. 1. You can distance yourself from him, train, and get on with your life. 2. You can confront him about what you heard and try to change his mind and be friends. 3. You can admit you care for him and try to make him happy, but you will probably have the villagers to hate you also. You also got to realize Sasuke will be back in the group in a week. Sakura just sighed and walked with the group to the Hokage office. On the way there she saw a villager pick up a rock and threw it at Naruto, who was ahead of the group Aegean. She watched it hit him in the back and he just looked down and kept walking. Jiraiya wanted to do something about that villager but could not because he did not want to cause trouble with their 2 new allies. Zabuza and Haku saw the rock hit Naruto and saw he did nothing about it, and none of the group with them did either. Zabuza asked aloud, why did the villager do that? A ABNU in a Weasil mask said, that monster deserved it. Sakura had enough and did some one-handed seal and mumbled, Earth style. Earth pitfall, just you, and a small hole 3 foot deep appeared right in front of the Weasil masked ABNU, who stepped right into it and fell, hitting his face and face mask on the ground, breaking his nose. Also his ankle broke from the sudden weight change. One of the ABNU helped him up and Jiraiya told them to go to the hospital. Haku, Zabuza and Jiraiya all saw Sakura do the jutsu but said nothing about it. When they got into the Hokage office, Jiraiya put up a silence jutsu and told the Hokage about the mission, introducing Zabuza and Haku. The Hokage then said, welcome to the Leaf Village. I will have to put you under a probation period of 2 months where you will have a curfew of 7 p.m. unless you are on mission. Certain area will be off limit until the probation period is over. You each will have 1 ABNU watching you for the probation, and your pay from missions will be charged 20% until the probation is over. I will give you a 2-bedroom apartment and deduct you rent out of your mission pay for the first 6 months also. After that you will be able to either stay in your apartment and continue paying your own rent, or you can find one more suitable after that time. Do you accept? Zabuza looked at Haku and said, we accept, but we have one question first. On the way here we saw the boy there getting angry stares and even had a villager throw a rock at him. I asked why that happened and an ABNU said that monster deserved it. My question is why? Naruto sighed and said, 12 years ago this village was attacked by the Kyuubi for reason most don't know or care, and a lot of people died. The only way to stop it was to seal the demon away. It was sealed in me. The villagers hate me because as long as I live the demon live. The story is more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. I am the walking prison for the Kyuubi. Naruto sighed at that point and said, I am not feeling very good right now. I will talk to you later. If you need anything else, old man, I will be at my rental house while I can before I go back to my old apartment. Then Naruto jumped out the window and was gone. The Hokage sighed and said, the boy really trust you. I made a lot of try and make it easier on him years ago, saying no one was to tell the younger generation about it, but Naruto has the right to tell anyone he chooses. He has very few people he trusts and even fewer who never knew about it. The older members of the town know the truth because they were alive when it happened, but most hate him for the friends and family they lost. I ask you not to speak about it. Now if you would go out to the secretary and give her this note, she will have someone show you to your place and get you set up. After Haku and Zabuza left the office, the Hokage asked, "What happened?" Sakura was the first to say anything. Before we left on the mission, Naruto was attacked by 30 villagers. He tried to keep it a secret, but I overheard him and Kyubi talking. I was worried about him and I used our Gemini jutsu and overheard them without me knowing. He acted like he walked into a tree in front of the client when we walked up. After we got back and Zabuza asked his question, the ABNU in a Weasil mask called him a monster and said he deserved it. I got mad and I used a low-level one-handed jutsu to make him fall. He had a broke nose and a sprained ankle from what I could see. I know what I did was wrong and I will take any punishment you want. The third sighed and said, "That won't be necessary, Sakura. Since you completed all the objectives for the mission, go ahead and get some rest, visit your mom and relax, you got the next 3 days off." After Sakura left, Jiraiya said to the third, "The boy is good. He took everything Zabuza had and beat him. They must have did a number on him for his healing power to not heal him to the extent I saw." After that he left to go find Tsunade and tell her how the mission went. He found her at the hospital teaching Hinata how to bring a fish back to life. The mission was a success and both objectives were met, but some events happened I will tell you about tonight. I missed you, dear. I also kept my promise. You can ask them, I never went to do research any on this mission. See you tonight, love. He said as he gave her a quick kiss and left. Hinata stopped after he left to rest a moment and asked, "Can we take a break, Sensei? I feel like I am almost out of chalk," as she collapsed on the floor. Tsunade stopped her stopwatch and said, "Well, you are getting better, 45 minutes before you out cold." She then had Shizune take care of Hinata while she went to find her fiancé. As she approached the nurse's station, a nurse walked up to her and asked if she had time to look at an ABNU who came in a little earlier since they were short-handed at the moment. Tsunade agreed and walked into the room where a man was sitting in a chair with an ABNU mask sitting on the counter beside him trying to stop a nosebleed and had a leg up in another chair. She asked him, "What happened to you?" The ABNU said, "I was escorting 2 missing nin. The demon brat, some pink-haired girl and the other Sanin to the Hokage office. Someone used a jutsu on me and made me fall, breaking my nose and spraining my leg. I am willing to bet it was that demon brat. I will get him for it." Tsunade was ticked off because she started to consider Naruto her little brother, but they were keeping that a secret for those who knew about the training. She then said, "Let me check you over and fix your injuries." With that she did a quick check on his nose and said, "Let me fix that real quick." And she put a hand on each side of his and twisted left and right a couple of times hard and said, "Well, in about a week it should be okay." She then checked his ankle and saw it was not broke but really sprained, but she wanted to hurt him some more, so she said, "Your ankle is broke, so I will have to re-break it to set it. Unfortunately I cannot give you anything for pain because you might put too much weight on it and damage it permanently." She went about breaking it and severally and singing "It's a Small World After All." The ABNU was screaming like a baby. When she finished putting it in a cast she said, "I might as well give you a complete physical while I am here, prostate and colon test and lots of lab," while she was pulling on a white glove and let it snap. A few minutes later a scream of, "Ah, you forgot to take of your RIIIIINNNNGGGGGG," was heard all across town. Tsunade left after the 30 lab results came back and said, "You can return to active duty after about 6 weeks and after you pass another physical." With that she left with a smile on her face. He passed out from a combination of blood loss and pain.